I might be muted. I hope I wasn't just muted all that time. Welcome to Workforce Wrestling Network. You are gathered with us for the winner's circle. I think I may have been muted during that whole opening segment, so I apologize for that. Clearly, we can't get our shit together here on Saturday mornings. It is too early for all this, but nonetheless, we are here bright and early, 7 a.m. over here on the West Coast, 10 a.m. on the East Coast. It's myself and Anika. Sammy Joe's under the weather, so we're going to review Monday Night Raw, NXT, and Dynamite from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. Give each show a grade, and the show with the highest grade at the end is your winner's circle winner for this episode. If you're here with us, we appreciate you tuning in on your Saturday morning. If you're new to Workhorse Wrestling Network on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on this video. It helps a lot. Hit that bell on the YouTube channel. That's the best way to make sure that you get notified every time we put something out on the YouTube channel. If you're with us on Twitch, give us a follow. We appreciate you there. If you're with us on the Clock app, we appreciate you over there as well. Give us a follow over there. We can't see your chats here in a restream from Twitch or the Clock app. So if you want to come over and interact with us here on the YouTube channel, we'd love to hear from you guys. If you're here on the YouTube channel, chime in the chat. Let us know what you guys thought about this week's show. Anything you want to talk about wrestling related or even unwrestling related. We're happy to talk about anything. So, hold on for a second. It looks like maybe we got two different things going on here. Here we go. Let me get rid of this one.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, we should be good to go. A little technical difficulty on the Saturday morning, but it is what it is.
Literally, it says, "Oh snap, something happened." What you mean? Oh snap, something happened.
All right, so usually Sammy Joe is here with us, and he takes us through Raw, but he is under the weather, so I guess I'll be doing Raw duties, or we'll share the duties. How's that? I didn't take any real notes, but I have notes from other people's notes. Let's put it that way. And obviously, I watched the show and the results. So Monday night from the 17th of February in the heart of Black History Month. You wouldn't know it thanks to WWE.
Hey! AEW.
What did they do in the middle of the month? Nothing, right? I mean, there was nothing on this episode that would make you know that it was.
I'm just saying, AEW ain't had no freaking historically black people do nothing either. So let's not act like it's just WWE.
We'll just say we'll get there when we get to Dynamite. I mean, I just wasn't. I mean, it wasn't just exclusive to WWE. I just have to just because we're talking about Monday Night Raw right now. No. Both companies. I mean, the world in general. Okay, let's call a spade, right? The fact that it's only a month is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that there's a black history. I mean, let's be, so I mean, it is what it is, right? To begin with. So, as a country, it is. We already have issues, let alone WWE and AEW. So, nonetheless, let's not make it political. We're here to talk wrestling. We have Monday Night Raw. Michael Cole and Pat McAfee are here. We get a little video package of Sammy and Kevin entering the arena. And then we get Sami Zayn in the ring for our opening segment. She says these past weeks have been tough, but hearing the crowd makes him feel better. While recovering, he had a lot of time to reflect on his history with Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn saying it says it's crazy how connected he and Kevin are and have been throughout their careers, from wrestling's smallest stages to the main events of WrestleMania. Their journey has been filled with betrayals, forgiveness, and second chances, but not this time. This wasn't about making a statement or advancing a career. Kevin tried to end him, but he failed. I'm still standing, Sammy says. My neck isn't fully healed, but I'm ready for a fight. Since Kevin will be in Toronto for Elimination Chamber, Sammy will be there too, and let's do it then. Adam Pearce comes out, reminding Sammy that they've had this discussion before, and that he's not cleared. And ultimately, they get to the point where Adam tries to leave after they kind of go back and forth. Sammy calls him out, reminding him, how long they have had history, blah, 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 even before signing, and he's not leaving the ring until he gets his match. They talk some more about their history, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, you can have it, but it'll have to be unsanctioned at the Elimination Chamber. He asked him if he understands what all that means. This is Adam Pearce asking Sami Zayn. He says, if he beats up Kevin Owens senseless in the concourse, no one can intervene. If he drops Kevin on his head, no one can save him. Sami still wants the match, though, and finally, Adam Pearce gives it to him, but it is unsanctioned. It's official, but unsanctioned. It's officially unsanctioned. All right.
Yeah.
What do you think of this opening segment? And are you excited about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at Elimination Chamber?
Oddly or not oddly enough, I am. Because like you said, we were talking about this yesterday on the watch along. They have run this back a couple of times. Like, they have spread it very nicely to my liking, but they have ran Sammy versus KO a couple of times. And so like I said, not really surprised because it's in Canada. And no offense, no, like, your prized Canadian fighter or fighters in WWE is KO and Sammy. So them not being on the card is blasphemous, right? Unsanctioned. So we are also AEW fans. We have seen some unsanctioned match. 3 out of the 2 out of the 3 are good, and then one with an old rocker crackhead emotionally messed up. But usually they do unsanctioned matches as well. So it will be very interesting to see how. I'm not gonna say WWE, KO and Sammy do an unsanctioned match because thankfully enough, they have enough cachet where they're like, hey, let us do this match our way. And more so Triple H will tell them, will say, all right, bet, y'all can do an unsanctioned match your way. Granted, it is still WWE. So it is like, how unsanctioned is this match going to be? Honestly, right? Now, going back to the ladder match at Royal Rumble with KO and Cody, that was really brutal. That was, in my opinion, that was a levels of AEW brutal with being in the confines of WWE. So I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just really interested to see how they do it. So I'm invested. I'm invested.
Anytime Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens get in the ring together, they have great chemistry and it's always fun. So, I mean, in that regard, the match should be, very interesting. The whole unsanctioned thing to me is bizarre anyhow. First of all, WWE doesn't care at all about records in general. They barely even tell you what a record is or what somebody's win-loss record. So the fact that it's unsanctioned and it doesn't go on your win-loss record means absolutely nothing to begin with. Secondly, if it's unsanctioned, the theory is I don't want any part of it, but yet you're still going to put it on your pay-per-view. You're still going to show it with your cameras. It's still going to be in your ring. It's still going to be by it's unsanctioned, so no disqualification, but there'll be some sort of, who knows, whatever the, structure, WWE structure. So the
Adam Pearce says there will only be a ref to count 1, 2, 3. That'll be it.
So, again, it is what it is. This feels like it should be a WrestleMania match, but my guess is we're going to get 2. We'll probably get Elimination Chamber and then another one at WrestleMania. So we'll see. I mean, we've been there, done that. They've had better matches at times than other matches. All of them have been solid, so this one should be good. Question is, how much do they do here in anticipation of running it back at WrestleMania? Now that they've done an unsanctioned match, what is even next to do at WrestleMania is kind of the question also. And don't get me wrong, if this is it for the moment and they don't do something at WrestleMania, I'm not opposed to that because I don't necessarily need to see it twice. I just think if you're only going to do it once, it should be at WrestleMania. I understand why it's at Toronto, why it's at Elimination Chamber, which is in Toronto, Canada. I get it. I'm just saying you're either going to do it twice, or if you're doing, if you're not going to do it twice, it should be being done at WrestleMania. But again, it is what it is. It's not the first time these two have done it, so I guess the importance of it being at WrestleMania maybe takes on a little bit less of importance. If this was the first time KO and Sammy had wrestled one-on-one ever in their long career and friendship, then maybe it would be, who knows, feel like it would be more obligatory to have to be at WrestleMania. But even that being said, I mean, it should still be a WrestleMania match. And like we said, it probably will be. We'll probably get two of them. So we'll probably get Elimination Chamber and then run it back again at WrestleMania.
So like, that's kind of why it's unsanctioned. Like, it's like two things, like, oh, so brutal, but also, what you call it? Who that? I don't see nothing. Who that?
No, it's CM saying morning.
Morning. But like, also them saying unsanctioned means is that even though they don't tell us the records, it's not in the record books, so it doesn't count. And they're like, it's unsanctioned because WWE will not be legally responsible if someone basically unalives themselves. That's usually what it is. It will again. If it was any other two,
as opposed to all these guys being independent contractors forever, and you, abdicating your liability or responsibility forever for everything you've ever done.
But listen, what you call it? What's the face though? When we pay you, there's a contract, right? This is an uncontracted thing. So
I'm getting paid for it.
You're getting
paid on the terms of your contract.
It's off the book. Marcel, it's off the books. It's off the books. But that will be like I said, if anyone else, it'd be like, really? 2 matches before Mania? Yeah, I'm gonna work this out. But because it's KO and Sammy, there's a little bit more hope where they're going to maneuver this, where the 2 matches will feel totally different, and you will want to watch it again at Mania. So I'm just right now. I'm interested. We'll see what they do, but I have faith in my Canadians, KO and Sammy.
Yeah. CM says, "Baby Dwayne siblings can come to Toronto."
Who are
Baby? Let's see. We got a recap of Jade Cargill being, I guess,
attacked
of her situation.
Yeah, she got attacked. We don't know who.
Right.
Naomi and Bianca are gonna find out, and they're paying tribute to Bring It On. That's why they are my chicks. Yes, Toros in the atmosphere. Sorry, Clovers. Clovers.
Did it, right?
Clovers. Huh?
We know who did it, right? I mean, it had to be Liv and Raquel, right? I mean,
I don't know. I don't think so. It's a red herring. It's too obvious. I don't want it to be Naomi. But it'll be a better story if it's Naomi. But it's not. I don't think it's Liv and Raquel though. I don't think it's Liv and Raquel.
So CM says he said Cody was the bro he never had. So that's Dwayne's little sibling is Cody. He can come to Canada. Let's see. Rikishi did it for The Rock to be in Marvel with Jade as Storm. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. When they do these, someone gets attacked and let's try to figure out who it is. Oftentimes it's very underwhelming when we find out who it is.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is one of those times where it doesn't feel like that.
If it's Liv and Raquel, that'll be a hella underwhelming. Like, why?
Agree. Let's see. Then we had Judgment Day in the locker room. Dominic talking to Liv about Jade and Bianca. Liv is praising Dominic for what he's done, and she knows he's going to win tonight against AJ. Dom is frustrated. He wants Finn to appreciate him. They discuss adding a new member. Finn walks in after hearing his name. Liv says they were talking about her winning. Finn reminds them that 3 Judgment Day members, 3 will be in the Elimination Chamber. He'll beat Seth. Liv is in, and Raquel must beat
Oh,
Roxanne, or it'll be embarrassing.
I was thinking like, oh, this is before we knew what happened. Yeah, okay, sure, yeah, sure. Three everyday members gonna be a elimination chamber. Yeah, that's yeah.
Raquel tells Finn to focus on his own job, then tells Dom and Liv no new members and takes off. What do you think of this little backstage segment? Finn reasserting his leadership by making it clear that he's the one calling the shots. No new members.
Even though there are no new members, but sorry, even though there's no leaders, even though there's no leaders in
Right.
Judgment Day.
Right.
This seems like it's gonna lead to someone joining. I guess the question really is who though? Like who would need this? Like with JD McDonough, it made sense. He needed the rub. He was Finn's friend, right? Equipment. What was I gonna say? So if Dom's leading the charge, I'm gonna assume it'll be one of Dom's friends, but he ain't got no friends. So who like so if they go down this road, what would it who would it be? Who would be? Oh, there we go. Who would it be where it would actually be interesting? It's like, and we actually give a crap. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. This will kind of make Judgment Day a little bit better. I don't have anyone in mind. I have no idea.
No, I mean, honestly, I was honestly hoping that when Rhea and Damien split from Judgment Day, the Judgment Day was going to dissolve. I mean, let alone stay and potentially get a new member. I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, you can debate where Liv's position is on the women's roster as far as main event or mid card. And the same is debatable with Finn, although they book him basically as a main event loser. He never really wins in the main event. I wouldn't call him a mid card guy because he gets a lot of main event stuff, but he loses all the time. So, other than that, everyone else is mid card or wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Judgment Day. So, in many respects, so yeah, I mean, whoever you add, you would think it would have to be someone that adds more credibility to the group. But who is that? There really isn't anybody that I can think of, like you said. And my hope is that they would just dissolve and go their own ways. So, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Uh,
I can see Liv and Raquel being good by themselves. If they dissolve, it wouldn't be that bad. But I do think that shit like Finn, even though he's been getting pinned a lot to my disliking, he'll I think he'll still be aight by himself. The only one. It's crazy enough, right? If me thinking about them dissolving is just Finn by himself and Dom, Liv, and Raquel in the group.
I mean, I think Dom and Liv need to probably get away from each other too. And no, I guess I understand to a certain extent the the desire to want to put Dom with the woman all the time. I guess it's because they feel like he's following in the footsteps of Eddie Guerrero, and that's kind of what he did. But first of all, he's not Eddie Guerrero. He's not even Eddie's son. You know what I mean? He's not anything other than whatever the case may be. I mean, their dads were friends, so I mean, his dad was friends with him. I mean, and it's his godfather. I get that, whatever the case may be, but like to the point where like you always have to pair him with a woman. He doesn't always have to have a woman or that kind of love situation going on. Why can't, first of all, why can't Liv do her own thing? She's good enough on her own. She doesn't need Raquel. I mean, Raquel doesn't have anything to do. So without Liv, Raquel's screwed. So I guess Raquel really needs Liv. Dom doesn't need Liv, in my opinion. Dom would be fine on his own as just a male singles wrestler. Let him just go off on his own. Carlito, no disrespect to Carlito, but if it wasn't for Judgment Day, he wouldn't be here still. And that's okay. He's had his career, and I don't dislike Carlito, but he's had his career, and he can, JD can do whatever JD's going to do. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe go back to NXT for a while. I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be terrible. With his skills, there's definitely a place for him, on the NXT roster. I think without Judgment Day, he gets very lost on the Raw roster or, at the main roster. So, I don't know. But the group for me has definitely run its course, and now without Damian and Rhea, which were really my only interest to begin with. I like Finn, but they were my only interest to begin with. Without them around, I really have no interest. So,
Yeah. No. I do
Let's
agree with you
see.
about. Yeah, that is right about Dom being cool by himself. It's just a matter of whatever momentum they have, just keep going with it. With JD, when he comes back, he got a lot of momentum from that tag team match. So whatever you want to do with him, just do that accordingly because they definitely can. What's the face? Uh, he got some cachet to get you up to that next level.
Yeah. It wasn't until after all of this happened that it made sense to me why we got this clip, and I don't know. I guess I don't know why we're totally still showing it all the time, but it made a little more sense after this match. We got a clip of Braun Breaker spearing I Show Speed at the Royal Rumble again,
Oh yeah,
which they've
yeah,
been showing
yeah,
over and over again. So
yeah.
I'm assuming it's to just hype Braun up and show that he does a good spear. It makes a little more sense, and we'll get to that. We'll get there in just a minute. But we got before we get to AJ versus Dominic, we have Vic Joseph who's filling in for Jackie Redmond, and he's about to talk to Bailey, and they're going to talk about the Elimination Chamber. She says nothing's bigger than the road to WrestleMania. She's won before, and she will win again. And she could face either Rhea or Io at WrestleMania, depending who comes out as champion at Elimination Chamber. And Bailey adds that she still has a lot to prove, despite everything she's accomplished in WWE. What do you think of this little segment? What do you think of Bailey? And anything you got to say about this?
I loved it, and unfortunately, she's right. She's didn't we just not see her as a top dog, which is so unfortunate and stupid. Um, this elimination chamber is going to be interesting because, like I said, I would love for Bailey to be back against to face Rhea at WrestleMania. It's crazy that Io's not in the elimination chamber match because I think we're always like, "Hey, Io and Rhea run that back at Mania," and it's like we're after elimination chamber. Oh, all right, y'all want to, but like you ain't gonna get. In our opinion, Io's already hot. Like anyone who wins that elimination chamber, you're gonna have to do a whole lot within March and April to hype us up for that match against Rhea. Io's already hot, so you didn't have to use that. You didn't have to do that much work if it was gonna be Io and Rhea at Mania. But whatever it is, whatever you're gonna do, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting either way. Then we got AJ versus Dominic. This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is AJ's. Is it its first match on Raw, right? Since being moved to Raw.
First
So
match on Raw, first match back,
yeah,
a singles
mm-hmm.
match after turning his Achilles heel, I think, or his
Looking,
leg, some part of the leg.
yeah. I thought it looked very good. I mean, I thought he didn't. I mean, I would say you can tell that he's not 25 or 30 anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The speed at which he used to move around the ring isn't quite the same. And I don't know if that's just because he's been out and he's got to get his legs under him. But a big part of that is the fact that he's, over 40, right? So, and it just is what it is. So the combination of being older and having a leg injury at an older age, I think accelerates sometimes some of that process. So,
And also, it's against Dom. Like no offense, but Dom does
yeah,
not
yeah.
go. Dom don't go fast in his matches either. So
This is, this is very true.
so we're going to match the pace that we're going to your competitor as well.
But I did think that Dom actually, did a good job here. Dom has gotten a lot better over the years. I mean, I know that they're not on the same trajectory or timeline, but I kind of think of Dom and Hook in the same kind of, and I feel like Dominic's come a lot farther than Hook has in the same time. Not Hook hasn't progressed a lot more recently, but I feel like over the overall span,
Yeah,
Dominic has grown a lot more than Hook. And again, it is what it is. That's not any criticism of Hook per se, or not, and not necessarily. I mean, I guess it's more credit to Dominic, and
well,
just his ability to, whatever. But this was a very solid match. AJ did get the win, even though Dominic had some help from Carlito.
yeah,
Um, and the Judgment Day, as you would expect, AJ got the win with the Styles Clash, which was good to see. Don't get me wrong, I love Will Ospreay, but it is weird to see Will Ospreay doing the styles clash.
I
So
think
it's
he
good to
called.
see AJ doing it.
Will don't do nothing by mistake. He trying to call old boy out, and I'm like, yes, keep calling him out. I don't care what Sammy says. AJ's last wrestling match is not gonna be in WWE. It's not.
So yeah, no, I mean, I like this. I thought this was solid, and then we'll talk. We'll talk about the match, and then we'll talk about the post match.
Yeah. All right.
What do
So
you think
no,
of the match?
match wise, like you said everything that I agree with. Like this is definitely a get your sea legs back for AJ Styles. I do think, even though Dom isn't fast, like super fast, he has enough ability to where it's like, okay, I can do this match. I can look good. I can get, I can flex the muscles and get back into a routine. I was gonna say something. There you go. All right, whatever. But yeah, no. It served its purpose, and it was a good match.
So AJ gets a 3 count. Dom and AJ both slowly get to their feet, and you see Braun Breaker, who slithered his way into the ring, and he is in the corner setting up for the spear. He's going to spear AJ. AJ notices and moves at the last second, and Braun Breaker spears Rey Mysterio. And then let's see. Let's see. Then AJ hits Braun with a Pele kick. And then he starts moving towards the belt, but Braun grabs it before AJ can grab it. What do you think of the little post match between Braun and AJ?
This was so good. This was so good. And unlike what you call it, they had Braun do a couple of stare downs and it's like, okay, when we're gonna get it? When we're gonna get it? Y'all actually did something after the stare down between AJ and Braun. Like, okay, so y'all actually want this to happen. Great. This was, and then the whole veteran thing with Braun, I love it. Whereas AJ's like, boy, I've been here for over 20 years. You can't be sticking up on me. Sorry, Dom, that you had to get, chopped it, speared in half, but, it served its purpose. And, any no look fade away, no look catch, no look whatever. Pardon my French, it's a penny dropper. I'm sorry. So you just can't. Like that just moment is like okay. Yeah, and then you saw Braun, and then even Braun was smiling like, okay, that was even Braun was like, okay, that was smooth. Okay, he's like, okay, that was smooth. So WrestleMania, yes, yeah. Good setup. We've been telling them that, hey, do something with Braun. This is a great thing for Braun. This would be a great match for him at Mania.
I mean, you've got to have, God, it's so offensive to say when I'm going to say this. You've got to have filler matches. Not that AJ and Braun is a filler match. I hate to say it like that, but you've got to have match. You have 2 nights to fill, and when I say filler, I mean fill out the card. You have 2 nights, fill out the card. AJ's been gone for a while. He is a superstar when he's back and going right. You're really trying to push Braun. Gunther did a lot to raise the profile of that Intercontinental title. You don't want it to fall too much off, even though it has taken a couple steps back. This is a chance to push it forward. And so, I mean, I think it's I think it would be a solid WrestleMania match for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, no. Unlike that weird period in 2024 where they wanted us to believe that everything's a main event match. No, it's not. There's an opener, there's a middle banger, there's an end. So, as to be on the WrestleMania card, this is a good WrestleMania match.
Well, and the reality is that not being the show opener or the main event gives you an opportunity to steal the card as a mid card match, right? If you come in and kill it, people are going to forget about the middle and the end, right? So, and they're just going to talk about you. So you get an opportunity to shine, not just because of the spot that you're in. So, and that's always, obviously got to be enticing. So, Julius and Rude. Oh, go ahead.
I'll say it has happened. It has happened.
The Creeds were talking about last week and what they did. I remind them that despite everything they did, they didn't get the win. She talks about Chad's advice, and she says she's going to handle her part of the deal, which is beating Dakota Kai tonight in the Women's Intercontinental Championship #1 contenders match, which is coming up. But before that, she then approaches Dakota Kai and tells her that everyone wants to see her get another title shot. But the Cinderella story, everyone wants Dakota to get another title shot, but her Cinderella story ends tonight. Dakota says, "I've had way tougher opponents that have tried and failed to defeat her before." Anything about her and Ivy Niles' little back and forth before we talk about their match?
We'll see. I am glad that Ivy was like, sirs, I'm glad you beat them up, but you did still lose. So let's focus on the main thing, which is actually becoming champions, please. I did love Ivy Niles. Just like let's the important thing is we win.
Next, we got Ivy and Dakota in a #1 contenders match. Excuse me. Ooh, sorry. Choking over here. Losing my train of thought. Dakota Kai gets the go-to pick for the win, ultimately in a solid match with Lyra, who was watching at ringside. These two are both solid women's wrestlers. Ivy has gotten a lot better. I do think we talk about levels all the time, and Dakota is probably a level above Ivy Niles still, but Ivy is looking good, and I thought she comported herself well here for someone that doesn't get a whole lot of time wrestling. It feels like she's more just the accompaniment to Chad Gable, i.e. kind of Marina Shafir, although she does get a little bit more time in the ring than Marina Shafir does. But it has that same kind of feel to it. So when you get to see her, you kind of remember that she's actually pretty good at what she does. And that Dakota Kai, I've said in the past that there was a time where I felt like Dakota Kai, they had a choice between Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox, and they went with Dakota Kai, which I personally like Tegan Nox better. That's not taking anything away from Dakota Kai. I like Dakota Kai. She's a very solid wrestler. And this was a very solid match. And she's a veteran that can, make her opponents, can raise her opponents, whatever you want to call it, make her opponents look better. Let's put it that way. And that's what she did here. I thought that Dakota Kai did a good job of making Ivy Niles look strong. And I thought this match was good for what it was.
It's crazy. It's unfortunate that it didn't get the crowd hyped because no, you can't really blame the crowd or the girls, but it really does hey, even if you don't like the girls, the stuff in the ring is good. At least cheer that. Come on now. But it wasn't. I enjoyed this match. Like you said, I totally agree. Dakota made Ivy look great. Very surprised but happy that Dakota won because no offense to Lyra, but I think that was a misstep of her winning the Women's IC Championship. Just like when you get a new belt, you have to make sure the person has enough anything to actually what's the word, to carry it and actually make it prestigious, right? Chelsea Green, we know she had a way much personality to be like, okay, she's gonna do this belt justice and it's gonna be fine. With Lyra, in my opinion, she doesn't have that. I'm sorry, she doesn't. I don't think she should have been called up. That's my personal opinion. I think if Becky was not her mentor, she should have stayed in NXT just a little bit longer. That's just my opinion. So I am happy about this match. I hope they give it to Dakota. No offense, but I do. But all in all, it will be a great match no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they haven't done anything with Lyra with the title, so I mean, it probably does need to be on somebody else, especially someone. If your goal is for this to be a big deal main roster title, not obviously equal with your women's championship, but a big deal to a certain extent, then you want someone that's a much bigger deal than Lyra Valkyria holding that title. And at this point, that would be someone like Dakota Kai, who is right at the bottom of that main event picture, top of that mid card pile, and a member, maybe the leader of one of your biggest women's factions. So, it definitely. I imagine Dakota Kai probably gets the win. Yeah, I mean, I think about the fact that Lyra Valkyria could be on NXT competing with the likes of Roxanne Perez and Julia and Zarya and Stephanie and those. I mean, I mean that's probably where she belongs still at the moment. And I think it would be better for her to be there, maybe getting more action and actually more work than she's getting on the main roster because she doesn't do a whole lot on the main roster. So, um, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. Uh, Pat McAfee is talking to Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, who are sitting in the front row. Pat asks Waller, Theory, Theory is shielding Waller from kids at ringside. Pat asks him if he's holding him back. Waller cuts in and doesn't like the question, says it was disrespectful. He compares Pat to the Charlotte Hornets, saying one ball and no championship.
All of this wasn't necessary, but it was fun.
He reminds them both that the two of them couldn't get the job done against one man in Obafemi at Vengeance Day. And then Waller says, we're not going to talk about the past. And he starts talking about Sheamus and calling him a repeated failure. So apparently, I don't know if we're getting A-Town down in the feud with Sheamus, but clearly Waller wants a feud with Sheamus. What do you think of this little interaction between Pat McAfee and A-Town down?
Full disclosure, I missed this. I didn't see this part. But listening to you talk about it, it sounds fun. It sounds hilarious, which is basically A-Town down, right? A-Town down under. If Grayson Waller wants to feud with Sheamus, why? Sir, you're going to get unalived. Austin Theory might have a better chance at this, but it's not you, boo. It's not you. But this was fun nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Waller wants to get his chest reddened by Sheamus, that's fine. I mean, I'm here for it. It would probably be fun to see Waller get the shit kicked out of him. But yeah, as a Theory guy, I'd much rather see Theory versus Sheamus. At least that sounds like that has some legs to it. I don't know. I'm extremely disappointed with what they've done with Austin Theory. I feel like he was Vince's guy, and I don't know if it's that they don't like him as much as Vince liked him, or if it's one of those things where it's like, this dude was a Vince guy, so we don't want to be Vince guys. We want to distance ourselves from feeling like Vince and the Vince guys, so that it feels different. Or maybe they just don't like him as much, or whatever the case may be. Maybe there's something else going on. But it feels like since Vince has been gone, which, don't get me wrong, is amazing for WWE, Austin Theory's career personally has seemed to take a couple steps backwards.
No, so unfortunately, Vince did like Austin Theory, and he was pushing him super hard, and it was not Austin Theory's fault, but it did make me hate him more. I did not like that. It was like, what? Because I was a fan of The Way. I was all in for that. Him and Bobby, I actually liked that. But then the stupid egg story, and then Vince and Vince was like, he's funny. I'm gonna her. And it's like, don't put your hooks in him. And then, like, he did, and it made it. And then I think he and then you could tell the push out of nowhere. He gets everything immediately. He became Money in the Bank winner. It's like, no, what the? And then, like, you made people hate him, and he had a big hill to climb after Vince left. He still has to climb it. I still like A-Town Down Under, even though they're not doing anything right now. I do think that they do have more, more speed, more gas in the tank before you have to break them up. But you do have to let them do something. So if by them doing something is getting unalived by Sheamus, fine.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. But I'm here for watching him and Sheamus. I mean, it should be. Like I said, I'd rather see Austin Theory versus Sheamus, but Waller getting beat up by Sheamus would be great too. So, Gunther is on the
Right.
concourse. He says he wants to experience the Yeet movement and what it's all about.
This was
So
dumb.
he's
This was I can't.
walking his way through the crowd to the ring. Eventually, he gets to the ring and he says,
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Side
"Good."
note, because when he starts out in the Concord and they're cheering, why are y'all cheering? This is not Jay. Listen, my people. I need y'all to have more sense than this. Maybe they told him. Maybe they told them to do the whole cheer thing. No, you gotta be authentic. We don't cheer him, even though he's in the freaking Concord. No, he gets booed. He did not get the Jay experience. So that was just Gunther in the Concord, and people are giving him the Jay experience. That was hilarious, but also fans, no, don't do that. Okay, continue.
Once he makes his way to the ring, he says the Yeet is a simple gesture for simple people. And says that Jay Uso is no different. I was a little offended by that because I happen to like to eat, and I'm not thinking of myself as a simple person. Thank you very much,
sir. You, oh my gosh, yes.
Let's see. He says that the fans don't appreciate. The Gunther knows that the fans don't appreciate him. It's like reading Shakespeare to a dog. Hello.
Like you really reaching for it, aren't you, bro?
Let's see.
You really going for it.
Gunther says, as one of the best wrestlers in the company, he's tired of facing opponents who can't even lace his boots. He'd hope to talk either sense into Jay or beat it into him so he'd make the right choice. But because of the
Your mama.
fans, Jay gained a false confidence, and now he's dug his own grave. But Gunther says, guess what, Jay? The match won't take place in the crowd. It'll happen in the ring at WrestleMania. And when that bell rings, he will outclass Jay in every way. Let's see. He then works his way into the crowd and warns the crowd that after WrestleMania, Jay's downfall will be on their hands. He urges them to be honest with themselves and asks, does Jay Uso really stand a chance against him? Let's see. Gunther then makes his way to the announce table. He starts calling out Pat for running his mouth. He says Pat should say it to his face, and he throws the mic at Pat. Cole kind of warns Pat to be careful, but Pat stands his ground. Anything can happen. Gunther removes his jacket and throws it at Pat. Then Jay's music hits. He storms onto the stage, or he storms, into the arena, whatever the stage, and then starts doing what he does. He charges at Gunther, throwing punches. Security rushes in. Jay fights him off. He super kicks Gunther. Gunther has him in the sleeper until the officials pull him away. Jay and them continue to fight onto the floor, and yeah, I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to replay it all in my head as I read it here. I think that was basically it. Gunther, I see, no, Jay hits him with a splash in the corner, if I remember, and then Gunther rolls out and retrieves the floor and basically takes off. So, long segment. What'd you think of all of this by the time it was over and done with?
Listen. All you emotional crackheads talking about, oh, it's 2 months. How we gonna do the story of building up Gunther and Jay? In the words of The Rock, shut your mouth and enjoy the ride. Please, just shut your mouth up and enjoy the freaking ride. If this was anyone else, you would be asking that. And trust me, it's been hella times where the freaking build up of WrestleMania has sucked. But y'all haven't said nothing about that. Y'all haven't said nothing about that because it was your favorite person. So like I said, shut your mouth up and enjoy the ride. Now, side note, I loved all of this. I loved all of this. I love Gunther like trying to intimidate Pat, and I don't think you realized you weren't over here when Pat was in NXT, but Pat don't care.
Yeah.
Pat does not
Nope.
care. And if Pat ever wants to relace up them boots, you were really good. I liked you in NXT. I liked you as a wrestler.
Yeah.
So any indication of Pat might getting back into that ring, I'm all here for. And of course, Jay finally done with the disrespect. I loved all of this. Like I said, I'm going to enjoy this ride, and this was a great week to build this matchup for Mania.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for Jay and Gunther. I mean, I think that they've done a good job. Jay is extremely over. Gunther's done a good job of, what he's needed to do, which is really implies that Jay's not on his level, which is what everyone's already kind of thinking to a certain extent. Anyhow, he asked the question, can Jay actually beat him? And that's the same question we're all asking, right? It's like, it's Gunther. Can Jay actually beat him? So no, I mean, it's perfect. They're doing this very good. And for anyone that thought that Jay couldn't hold his own, I think he's doing a very good job of holding his own. None of this feels like it's just being dominated by Gunther in any way, shape, or form. And the reality is that Gunther is champion at the moment, but he's not over like Jay is. He isn't. And people like Gunther and they appreciate what he can do, but Jay at the moment is, I mean, red hot. I mean, dude is as hot as you can possibly get, as I've seen in wrestling in a long time. I mean, and so, I mean, and the reality is that like it or not, if you're Gunther, you also recognize that, right? So not kayfabe.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in real life, like behind the scenes, it's like fuck, I'm the champ, but this dude's getting all the energy, like, and so if you're these guys are all super driven. They all have egos. They all want to be the star, and I'm sure that doesn't rub whatever his real name is in real life, all that well either. So, I know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
here for this, and like I've said many times, it feels really good. This is one of those times where it feels really good to see the good guy kind of or Jay, who you're pushing as the babyface at the moment as a good guy. It's one of those times when I have a real easy time feeling good for them also. A lot of times I'm not on board. A lot of
Yeah.
times I like to heal more. A lot of times it's like, oh, this story sucks. Jay has done a very good job of making you really connect with him and like him. And we've watched him grow from not a young kid, but a younger talent, you know what I mean? To
Yeah.
all his
Yeah.
years as, one of the top tag teams in the world with his brother. And now to be able to shine after all that grinding as a singles wrestler, you know, and yeah, I mean, I really hope he wins. I mean, I think if they don't put the title on him, even if it is just for a month or two, like you said, even if it is just hot potatoed, I think you missed the boat. If you don't do it here, I think you missed the boat, and I don't know that you get another chance to do it. And then I feel bad for Jay because I don't know that he gets another opportunity like this. Even if he stays hot, I just don't know if WWE will give him another opportunity like this. But we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah. And what I was gonna say, it's like we know this is scripted, right? We know that they can give Jay
Of
the
course.
win. Honestly, it's about training. Is that I'm not sure if he's like, of course he's training, but I want them to craft this match where it's believable that he beat Gunther. You know what I'm saying? Not just oh he had the 1 2 3. No, you actually whooped his behind. I actually like at WrestleMania. That's what I want for this match. I'm convinced that Jay whooped your behind. You act like he actually beat you, whether by smart maneuvering, whether by hey I just actually just I was gonna say hit you harder, but that's not a thing. But like, yes, definitively, I beat Gunther.
And if they really want, I mean, if their goal is to actually have a strong Jey Uso as champion, if that's where they're going to go, then he does have to beat Gunther, and he has to beat him clean. I mean, if he gets help from someone, that doesn't make him look great. It looks like, oh, Jay needed help to beat Gunther, and now how's he going to defend that title
Yeah.
by himself? Type of situation, you know. So no, I mean, if they're going to actually do it and pull the trigger like they should, he's going to have to beat Gunther. Now that's a very interesting situation because I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, not that Gunther's offspray in any way, shape, or form, but every time I think to myself. Every time there's a Gunther match, I think to myself, okay, how are they going to have somebody beat him? How does he lose, right? Because of the way that they book him,
Yes.
and he is big and he is strong and he's super talented and he wins a lot. So how are you going to have him lose? And it'll be interesting to see if Jay gets the win, how they do that. As long as they do it well, I'm fine with it. Hopefully they've got something in mind that works out. So uh,
Agree.
let's see. Kathy Kelly's backstage with Liv Morgan and Raquel. She's asking about the footage of them attacking Jade. Um, and she says, let's see, Liv says they've raised the standard in the women's division and that Raquel's going to crush Roxanne like the bug she is. Um, Liv says, I have no time for your theories, Kathy, that we're the ones that attacked Jade. Um, Raquel says, what happened to Jade could happen to anybody. And Liv's laughing as you would expect. What did you think of this little backstage segment with Kathy Kelly and Liv and Raquel?
We'll talk about it later, but I only got your behind whooped. I only got your behind whooped. You could have just denied it, but no, you was sneaking heel, and that's what you got your behind whooped. Point blank, period. And you did not raise anything. You didn't raise anything. I hated your title reign. But yeah, you're a heel. You gotta say it.
Jay is roaming through the backstage area and bumps into your boys, the New Day, um, Kofi and Xavier. Kofi tells Jay that no one understands what he's going through better than him. Um, let's see. Wood says they can't wait to see him. I'm trying to remember exactly. So the way these notes are written here, and I'm trying to play it out all in my head because it doesn't like. It's not always because my recollection isn't always 100%. But Kofi adds that Gunther's going to take care of him. Jay reminds him that Kofi Mania wouldn't have happened if the Usos hadn't forfeited their match. Woods
Hey, hey,
Woods refers to Pete Dunne
all
as
true.
Butch, which gets Pete's attention. Kofi tries to calm Pete down, but Pete Dunne isn't having it. And he agrees with the fans that the New Day sucks. So here we got the New Day just healing it up kind of backstage, telling Jay he's gonna lose to Gunther, and then just to poke the bear because we know that Pete Dunne hates being called Butch. You got Xavier Woods calling him Butch. I'm assuming that we'll get a Pete Dunne Xavier Woods match now at some point. What do you think of New Day just healing it up?
So I wish it wasn't just New Day healing it up. I wish it was a little bit more in depth because Jay is definitely Kofi Mania. This is definitely a Kofi Mania thing, part whatever you want to call it. And so I did love that, but it's like they're being sniffling hills, so there's no more. It's not. It couldn't be as in depth as I would love it to be. Where it's just like, listen, I did it, but I know that you can't. It's like something. I want more meat. There we go. I wanted more meat in the bone. I'm not sure where the meat was going to come from, but I did want more meat in the bone. But I did love Jay's reply, like, let's not forget, crackheads, emotionally. If we did not, like you said, forfeit the gauntlet match, a good gauntlet match, you wouldn't be where you were. So let's say Jay wins, right? The championship. I ain't gonna say program, that's a lot, but if once his challenger is either Kofi or Xavier, I would be okay with that. Even just for a Raw match, that would be a good first start to his reign.
Yeah, I mean, we all, I do. I talk a lot, and I, am critical of the small main event bubble. And I think there's a lot of guys that don't get opportunities that probably deserve opportunities, and giving Jay the title and then having him have a feud against someone like Xavier Woods would be amazing because it would give both guys an opportunity to be in that main event picture that none of them that they don't regularly get, exclusive of being tag teams. So, it would be fun. Both either Kofi or Xavier would be fun. I'd rather see Xavier just because I feel like even though it was only the one time we've been there, done that with Kofi, and so, it'd be nice to see Xavier kind of get that rub here over Kofi, but at the same time, either one would be fine with me. But, I think that would be fun. Let's expand that main event, bubble of people that deserve matches and should get matches. And let's have, if you're going to put the title on Jey Uso, have him wrestle all those guys, the guys that he can really,
Right?
whatever, that don't get a whole lot of opportunities. And that would be a lot of fun.
And
So.
also, so we had a good chemistry with. Like, okay, like anything, a bad match is when you don't, is someone new you don't have good chemistry with. We know we have good, like, to start off the reign, this would be a good person. Like, okay, I already know him. We already know how to do this. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Next, we had Penta versus Pete Dunne. For anybody that's a wrestling fan, this was your wrestling portion of the show.
Yes.
You know what you're going to get when you have both these guys in the ring. Unfortunately, much to my dismay, the guy that I dislike quite actively at the moment ends up interfering in Ludwig Kaiser. But Penta does capitalize ultimately and get the win with the Penta driver for a 3 count. Pete Dunne and Penta have very good chemistry. I'm a big fan of both of these guys. I'm beyond irritated that Kaiser's in the mix here. I don't, one of these things is not like the other. Sorry. And so, he doesn't belong for me in the 3-way. But you got 2 supermodels, and I don't even know what he is. But and so it is what it is. But Penta getting the win is good for Penta. I don't know that I don't want to say it's necessarily bad for Pete Dunne because Penta is Penta, and we all know what he is. And the fact that this is only his 4th match and he's only been here for a month, we kind of expect him to be on a winning streak to a certain extent. At the same time, I always want more for Pete Dunne. Jey Uso being champion, Xavier Woods getting an opportunity, Pete Dunne getting a title shot and a little program or small little feud with Jey Uso wouldn't be terrible. Like, these are the guys that I'm talking about when, we can expand that main event bubble and have some of these guys that potentially, even at this point, although it's probably a little premature because he's only been here, but if you want to let Jey hold the title for a minute or two, Penta at some point versus Jey Uso for the title would be a lot of fun. Penta doesn't deserve a match quite yet. I deserve it. He hasn't earned it in WWE quite yet. But, I mean, it would still be fun, especially if you want to give Jey the win over someone that's a quality opponent, right? So all those things would be fun.
Yeah.
This match was a lot of fun. Penta got the win. What did you think about this? And then we'll talk about a little bit about the aftermath with Kaiser.
Like you said, this looked like Pete Dunne versus Penta. If you doubt this match, you had not seen these people wrestle. So, like, quality wrestling match already in the bag. Boom, loved it. I don't like to pre-book what WWE is going to do because you're just going to let me down. I feel like crap. But like you said, it don't even have to be on a premium live event. Just a main event of Raw. Let it be Pete Dunne versus Jey or Penta versus Jey. Like, that would be a great main event Raw match, and it will elevate Penta a little bit faster. And like, as of right now, Penta's cool with what he's doing, right? But I think we do want to bump it up more. It's like let's go faster. Let's go faster. I think we all agree he should be either IC champ or United States champion, but we're doing it really slow. I understand a little bit, but let's go a little bit faster. Let's go a little bit faster. And him versus Jey would probably definitely accelerate that. But as of right now, him versus Pete Dunne is a good thing. It's a good shout. I don't hate Ludwig Kaiser like you do. I guess it makes you probably feel a bit better that their alliance isn't really an alliance. They at the end of the match they beat each other up.
We're getting a triple
I
threat.
actually was.
This is gonna be a triple threat match at WrestleMania night 1 or night 2. One of those. This is gonna be a filler match. Unfortunately, I mean it's not, but it is. It's gonna be one of those fill out the card matches at WrestleMania. We're gonna get a triple threat.
Like, I was gonna say again, it'll be a decent match. What's the word? What's the word? What's the word? ALW. I trust. There we go. I trust all of these cats, and it will be a good match. But for WrestleMania, I don't know. This feels like it will probably be a what's the word? A pre-show match, and it's like I want more. I want more for Penta. I want more for Pete Dunne too. I feel like it would have been better if Pete Dunne and Ludwig actually became a tag team, but I don't understand why you did it, but it is what it is. All in all, just give them a good spot and hopefully they'll rock it.
CM says ALW hates everyone.
He does, and it's just not fair.
And she says
because Ludwig didn't do nothing to you. He did it.
WWE is doing repeats again. Yes and no. I mean, not any more than
like, so it looked like it was gonna be. You mute yourself. What'd you say?
This is not any more than normal.
I was gonna say, it looked like it was gonna be Penta versus Braun, but they chose AJ Styles. I can't fault them for that. I wish that would have been a triple threat. I would have wished it would have been Penta, AJ Styles versus Braun. That would have been great.
That would have been a lot of fun.
We still got a month. If you want to do that. But yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and then I'll finish it because I have a brain fart and I'm rambling. This is what This is what gauntlet matches are for. Gauntlet matches are the fastest paced way of getting someone ready for the main event of Raw or a Premier Live event. So I think we need to do a gauntlet match. Let's get that one. Let's get that in the bag. So when Jay, I think Jay's winning. When Jay becomes champion, his next thing will be like his next his opponent will be lined up, and it won't be out of thin air. It'd be like, oh, I actually beat some other people in this one match to go against you, and that'll be great.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. We had Jay backstage with Catherine Kelly talking about how he was underestimated and they didn't think he could win at the Royal Rumble. And he promises to shock the world at WrestleMania and become world champion. We get a video package for Roxanne Perez. Then we've got Vic Joseph interviewing Dakota Kai about her upcoming match against Lyra next week. Dakota says she's excited, reflects upon her journey a little, mentioning the highs and lows.
You good?
Yeah, I'm just trying to breathe, I guess. Stop coughing. Let's see. She acknowledges that she lost the finals to Lyra and that was a big deal and that, she had to take a look at herself, but that she will be the new Intercontinental Champion next week. Anything you want to say about any of that stuff so far?
I want that for her. I want that for Dakota. I do, and hopefully it'll happen.
We get the War Raiders talking about how the Creeds are as good as advertised, but they aren't ready for war. They remind them that despite being hit with the title belts, they are still the tag team champions.
No nuts.
They said this isn't the first time they've been knocked down, and it won't be the last, but they're going to rise again as always. Next time they step in the match, it won't just be a match, it will be a war. Did you want to make any comments about their little War Raiders segment?
This segment, I love the War Raiders title reign right now. Like they actually are doing a good job with the War Raiders being the tag team champions, and keep it going.
Agreed. Then we had we had a women's elimination chamber qualifying match: Raquel versus Roxanne. The winner advances on to the elimination chamber. Roxanne Perez got the win, as I imagined that she would. Liv. There was quite a bit of whatchamacallit in this match. Different people. Liv got involved. Naomi kind of cut her off, or Naomi got involved. Bianca kind of got involved um, to keep Liv from really interfering too much in this match, and ultimately allowing Roxanne Perez to get the win because Raquel didn't have the help of Liv, and Roxanne advances on to the Elimination Chamber. What do you think of Roxanne getting the win? What do you think of this match?
So, correct me if I'm wrong. NXT Nickelodeon 2.0. I was watching it. I believe it was Roxanne to beat Raquel for the title.
Yes.
So I actually like that little. I like that little nitpick. I like of them actually knowing each other well before the interference. This was a good match. Like, this is probably for me the best Raquel has looked in a singles match in a minute. So I love that for her. And Roxanne, I think they know, like, they love Roxanne, right? But at this point in time, we don't know where to put her in the main on Raw or SmackDown. And to that I say, you know what? All right, you don't know where to put her. Let her be on NXT and let her do some pop-ups. I'm totally fine with that, right? So, but she did so good. It's crazy how comparing this to Ivy Now and Dakota, the crowd was actually behind this. This actually got some heat, and it might have been, because of the Judgment Day rub. Whether you like it or not, they do have some cachet, and it was good for this match. So yeah, I think Raquel and Roxanne did a great job, and the interference, I loved it because it didn't interfere a lot. You can tell interference was like, oh crap, they just ruined a good match. It was too much. It wasn't too much because Bianca and Naomi, they didn't go against Raquel. They went against the interference, which was Liv. So you take out the interference, and that was just all you needed. And then Pop Rocks, 1, 2, 3, Raquel won. Roxanne won, and Roxanne being added to this Elimination Chamber was a good choice. I would prefer Roxanne over Raquel. That's just me, but I think so that actually amped up this Elimination Chamber a lot. And then you actually, like I said, we're actually getting a storyline of Naomi and Bianca actually going against who they think beat up Jade, and like, yeah, give the girl the actual story, please and thank you. So I enjoyed all of this. This was a good segment. And one last thing, I said, "Bird, it's cold in here. There must be some Toro in the atmosphere." I love. That's why these are my favorite people on this television screen. Just don't worry, these. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you need to know. That's why I love Bianca and Jay together. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, Roxanne Perez being in the Elimination Chamber gives you another sense of unpredictability because even though it's probably assumed she's not going to win, you don't know for sure. And there's always a chance because she's Roxanne Perez. Whereas with Raquel Rodriguez, she's not winning. She's just a big body there to look good in the chamber, right? So, in that regard, I do like the fact that Roxanne Perez does get that spot. So, let's see. We got Kathy Kelly. He's with Seth, talking about his match tonight, main event match tonight against Finn Balor. Seth says he can't get to WrestleMania without going through the Elimination Chamber, and he can't get to the Elimination Chamber without winning tonight. This is as big as it gets. He says he needs a win over Finn more than Finn needs. Wait, he needs to win more than Finn, and then it's time for a fight. Anything you want to say about Seth?
It was short and sweet. It was like, yep. He's like, I'm done talking. It's time for fighting. Y'all already know what it's gonna be. Let's see who wins.
Yep.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah. Karrion Kross interrupts Sami Zayn and says saying Sami Zayn will be watching closely. He mocks Jay for thinking he'd be Gunther at WrestleMania and laughs at Seth for believing he'll qualify for the Elimination Chamber um, to eliminate the Invisible Man. Uh, he tells Seth that he tells Sammy that out of all of them, he still has time to turn things around and be the guy. Carrying Cross for me, I don't know. I'm not totally sure what this all is. I don't really care for it. I didn't really like them to begin with, and this is even more bizarre. So I don't know. What do you think of all this stuff with Karrion Cross?
Karrion Cross is being a troll. He's being the dude. He's being the instigator of WWE, and that should be his role. That's all I need from Karrion. I just need you to be instigating stuff until we find a good, suitable person to finally say, you know what, screw you, I will be behind. And so I love this for Karrion. You just being a troll and an instigator backstage. Do I want Karrion versus Sammy? You can give it to me on a Raw and just be done with it. But I don't need that on a premium live event. But yeah, keep trolling. Keep trolling. This is sweet spot.
Let's see. Vic is with Ludwig. That's about what happens earlier. Kaiser says he went out to prove a point. And that all the hype around Penta should be about him instead. He should be at the top of WWE. Everything was going to plan until Pete Dunne interfered. This is his year. If he has to go through Pete Dunne, so be it. If he has to go through Penta, so be it.
So much for trying to be on the same side, man. Dang.
Thank God. Let's see. Kofi and Xavier heading to the ring. Io is reflecting on how things changed. A year ago, she was champion on top of the world and heading to WrestleMania. Now her path is unclear. There's a chance she won't get her moment this year, but her match with Rhea Ripley is the opportunity that she needs. She respects Rhea and knows her better than anyone in NXT. Rhea always had the upper hand, but this time Io is determined to reclaim her rightful place at the top. The championship belongs to her, and she wants it back. What'd you think of this?
Real life. Who said no? Io versus Rhea at Mania sucks. Like this should be at this should be at Mania, man. Io is just that chick. I feel like this was so. She did a promo like this in NXT. So she like this isn't new for people who are fans of Io. But again, like I feel like this is something that Io pitched. Let me just be in water and just talk about the match because like this was so freaking cool, and only Io can do it, and it looks so freaking cool. And so I love, even though this is after it's gonna be after Elimination Chamber, this should be the main event of Raw, right? I don't see how it's not the main event. I love the whole backstory. Where it's like, look, every time we went up against each other in NXT, I beat you. I just got to do it one more time to punch my ticket for WrestleMania. It's like, in my heart, I'm like, look, I want that to happen. I want y'all to just throw an audible. I want y'all to just I just want y'all to throw an audible and just do it and then have the rematch at Mania because it should be Io versus Liv. I'm sorry, it should be Io versus Rhea. It should be Io versus Rhea. But whatever.
All right, so we get a recap of what New Day did to Ray and Dragon Lee after Raw went off the air last week when they attacked Ray's knee with the steel chair. After the video package, they're in the ring. Xavier Woods says, he wishes Ray a speedy recovery before they decide they want to address the fans. Kofi's going to start to speak, but Woods cuts in, demanding the crowd shuts up. He says people are angry about what they said to Big E and upset about their attack on Rey Mysterio, a Hall of Famer who has only tried to drain the life from every luchador who stepped into the WWE. The crowd has lost its mind.
Did you just clap
I
that? Did you just applaud
I
that?
did applause that. Uh, Kofi questions why Ray's on a pedestal just because he's a Hall of Famer and the supposed heart and soul of WWE. Kofi reminds everybody that he has more titles than Ray, has been in WWE longer, and has never left. If anyone should be the locker room leader, it should be him. Ray kicking them out of the locker room was beyond disrespectful. Wood says that audacity led them to take a steel chair to Ray's ankle last week. Kofi says that's why they made Ray cry, leaving him embarrassed and unable to show his face. Um, let's see. He tells him it could have been much worse for Ray. Instead of complaining, they should be thanking the New Day for showing mercy. Woods Xavier says they could have taken Ray out back and given him the old Yeller treatment. Instead, they let him go home to his family. He tells the crowd they should be on their knees, thanking God for the New Day. Then the LWO music hits. Dragon Lee calls their attack on Rey Mysterio unforgivable and fires back, saying the New Day sucks. Let's see, Wild and Cruz charge into the ring, taking the fight. We get Kofi and Woods and Joaquin and Del Toro fighting. Dragon Lee gets in the middle of it. The LWO gets the upper hand. Let's see. And ultimately, LWO is left standing in the ring. What do you think of this whole segment? And are you here for LWO versus New Day? I guess. I mean, another filler match at WrestleMania.
Not at Mania. No offense, but not at Mania. Definitely not at Mania. If you want to do it on Raw, I'm all here for that. I'm all here for that. But Mania, no, it's not big enough, especially if Ray is out. And even if Ray is in the match, it's like I still no, in my opinion. I love the segment though. I love this segment. Crazy to hear that Kofi has. I can kind of believe the more titles, the more so him being here longer than Ray. It was like, huh? What?
Yeah.
Thing, right? He's lying. It's like that's insane. Like stuff like records like that is insane. And then Kofi, you just healing it up. You go, thank God. I'm like, sir. I sure we had a Red Bull before this promo segment. But I really need you to bring it way down. I need you to bring it all the way down. And then, like, even though I said this wasn't a WrestleMania match, I don't mind them going against LWO outright because everyone needs a leg up. Everyone needs a rub. And even though we want more for Xavier Kofi in this heel run, I guess I have blinded faith. I think they're getting it. People are like, "What? Why are we doing this right now?" I think we're biding our time, and they're going to, in my brain, they're going to face the War Raiders at Mania. That's what I think is going to happen, and we don't really know how to get. Yeah, we probably can do some other stuff before we get there, but I'm not mad at what we're doing now before we get there. So yeah, LWO, and no offense, people don't know who Cruz Del Toro is, or Joaquin
Wild
is a Phoenix Wild. We don't know. They really don't know their names. So yeah, let them get the New Day rub. They shouldn't beat them, but let them get the New Day rub. Let them get their faces out there, and then we go on to for other stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, the LWO really isn't big enough when you think about it in the scheme of things. I mean, they have Rey Mysterio, and that's about it. So, I mean, beyond that, it's not Wild and Del Toro versus Woods and Kofi doesn't really do much. So, I mean, it would be a solid match, but it doesn't do anything. It definitely doesn't belong on a WrestleMania card. So, we'll end up having to see what ends up happening. But I'm definitely here for heel New Day. I like that a lot. So, I'm enjoying them. Wood seems much more comfortable than Kofi, but Kofi's not doing a bad job by any stretch of the imagination. So
he's not. Yeah.
Let's see. Dakota Kai is reminding everyone that she'll be challenging Lyra for the women's championship next week. I'm sorry. We're getting a reminder. I apologize. And then Bianca and Naomi will defend their titles against Liv and Raquel. Bianca and Naomi are backstage. Kathy Kelly spots them, asks them if their actions were revenge for Jade. Naomi says, they've been waiting for the truth to come out, and now Liv and Raquel are the ones counting their days. Bianca adds that they better be ready. Naomi says they're all willing to fight, and in the end, it will come down to one of them facing Rhea or maybe even Io. Well, anything you want to say about that before we get to our main event match?
Even though I can't stand Liv, that match is going to be great. Even though I want Io to be in this elimination chamber so badly, I wouldn't mind if Bianca wins. I know it's going to take a whole lot of work to reheat that matchup with her versus Rhea, but they can do it. It can be done. So, yeah.
Our main event of the night is a men's elimination chamber qualifying match. The winner moves on. The loser goes home. Finn versus Seth Rollins. As you would imagine, it is a very solid match between two really good wrestlers. The reality is that it shouldn't surprise anybody that Seth got the win simply because Finn doesn't get the win in big matches anymore. So, the reality is, I guess, for me, he's not necessarily. But I think, WWE and the WWE Universe think Seth Rollins probably a better fit for Elimination Chamber and a better potential challenger for, as the winner than Seth Rollins than Finn Balor is. So, Finn doesn't ever get the credit he deserves, in my opinion, or the push that he deserves. But at the same time, it is what it is, and I resign myself to the fact that this is what we're going to get for Finn Balor, I guess, in WWE. My hope is that at some point both Finn and AJ make them. There's a number of people that I still hope make the move ultimately to AEW at some point and still can have some matches with some people that I really would love to see them wrestle, and Finn's one of those guys. So Seth is actually one of those guys. Like, I'd like to see Seth versus Spray. I'd like to see Seth versus MJF. I'd like, there's a number, Seth versus Kyle Fletcher. There's a number of matches that I would love. Seth versus Okada. So, there's a number of matches I'd love to see. So, all those guys. But yes, Seth and Finn is, a quality match. I think it feels like people are down on Finn at the moment, which isn't his fault. That's a booking thing, but it feels like they're down on Seth, on Finn. And so Seth got the win and advances on to the Elimination Chamber. What did you think of this?
Like you said, it wasn't a big surprise that Seth won, but all in all, this match was great. It's crazy to think that maybe it was, but like, it feels like they should have had more matches together. Like, they had the match in 2016, right? He broke Finn's collarbone, boo Seth, and after that, it feels like they kind of kept their distances away from each other, and I kind of get it, whatever the reason was. So I'm like, these two should have more matches together. But hey, if you don't get the specialness of, hey, they actually did it. I love, like I said, this was a great match. Let's talk about the last. I didn't rewatch it, but it felt like the 1, 2, that was 3. So when I watched it, it felt like Finn actually got his shoulder up, but the ref, like, even though the ref hit the mat, Finn got his shoulder up. But everybody was like, boo! I'm like, no, he got his shoulder up. But that was great. I felt Steph handled it well. Like, just tell her, like, before the crowd goes buck cry crazy, he tells the ref to suck it so everybody can calm down just a little bit. And like you said, Steph wins. Understandable. I would love the story to be Finn said no new people, and look at you now. Because you didn't recruit, because you don't have any new people. Damian what's his name? Ollie Davis said this, because you didn't recruit anybody new. Dominic lost, Rio lost, and now not Rhea, Raquel lost, and now you lost. So maybe you should get out your way and get a new person for Judgment Day. I will let that be the story. Hopefully that is the story, because yeah, I love Finn, and I'm tired of him getting pinned. I'm like, give him something else.
Yeah.
It's freaking Finn Balor.
This was a very solid Monday Night Raw. I thought it was, as WWE always is, it's promo and segment heavy, storyline heavy. But that being said, I thought Pete Dunne and Penta was very solid. I thought Finn and Seth was really solid. So the wrestling on the show was good. I thought this was a B plus. I'm going to give it a B plus.
Oh, I will agree with you. I'm gonna give it a solid B. I'm gonna give it a solid B. Like nothing egregious happened where it's like, oh, this is dumb. Nothing. It was a good, solid show overall. So yeah.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our Monday Night Raw review. We're going to shift on to NXT, which was at the Capitol Center. This is the Fallout post show, the first show after Vengeance Day. So we get a long,
Great Vengeance Day.
great Vengeance Day. Get a very long Vengeance Day recap package, and we get a recap of Obafemi being attacked by the 4 mystery men that have now, made their way onto the NXT scene and are attacking everybody. One of them is definitely Dion Lennox. We know that. We don't know who the other 3 are. I'm very interested to see, but Oba really wants to know, and he's in the ring demanding to know who they are. He wants those 4 guys to come out now. Unfortunately, his wishes are going to go unmet from those 4 guys, but our wish of someone that you would not expect coming out to greet Obafemi is your TNA X Division champion, Moose. 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 So Moose makes his way to the ring, and we get a face-off between Moose and Obafemi. And they talk a little bit. Moose says that he saw what happens to Oba, and Oba seems ready for whatever happens, but that he's not ready for Moose, and that at some point him and Moose are going to have a a match. And they both hold up their titles, and we get a little bit of a stare down. What do you think about this?
It's about dang time. It's about dang time. I wish Sammy was here because he wanted this for the longest. I wanted to feel his excitement that it actually is happening right now. This has to be on TakeOver, right? This can't be no Dink NXT. No. This has to be at a premium live event.
WrestleMania TakeOver,
sir. Please, this has to be that, right? Yeah. It has to be there. So I'm excited. This is actually we're actually getting some good NXT TNA crossovers. This is what we've been wanting when they actually said it. They were actually crossing over. I can't wait.
Always thankful for CM telling me, and then I always hate her for telling me stuff because then it always ruins what I think of people. Apparently, Moose is a Tessa Blanchard supporter, so do that.
Damn you! Dang it! That okay. So that means Oba's win. So good on you. Okay. So we know who should win this. It should be Oba. So okay.
Let's see. Then we get the 2 unknowns that have been roaming around. Andre Chase, trying to pump him up to be, to start Chase U again. They invite Narkale Dixon and Uriah Connors, if anybody cares. They invited Ava and Eddie to their after party. Both Ava and Eddie said no. Eddie said, you should be with Chase and Chase U. And let's have a match later tonight. Ultimately, he sets up a match for later tonight. Then we get our first actual in-ring match of the night, which is Jada Parker versus Carmen Petrovich versus Kalani Jordan. And the winner gets a shot against Stephanie Vicaire for the women's U.S. or North American Championship. Interestingly enough, Carmen Petrovic got the win here, which really kind of surprised me. I, I don't truly understand what's going on. It felt like for a minute they were really hot on Jada Parker, and now 2 weeks in a row she's lost two matches that I feel like she shouldn't have lost. Like this was a spot for her to shine. Kalani Jordan's already had that title, right? So we don't need to have her with that
Yeah.
belt again. And I don't necessarily need to see her versus Stephanie. Jada Parker versus Stephanie really moves the needle for me. Carmen versus Stephanie does nothing. So I'm really surprised that Carmen got the win here. It it's
So
I think it has to do with the fact that they like this Carmen and Ashante story that they have going on, and that feels like whatever. And so now they're trying to push. I don't know at the expense of Jada. It feels like Jada should have won here, and that Jada should be getting the spot. But what do you think about this with Carmen getting the win here?
okay, so match wise, a great way to start the match. I love all three of these girls. These girls are definitely what you call it wrestling. They have a wrestling caliber like they should be in the main event sooner than later, right? About the Carmen winning. So this is my CM hat. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you hear me, girl. Jada said some crap on Twitter.
Oh,
And again, I'm not sure why people crash out on Twitter because that never goes well for your career. So she said something. So she said some things people didn't agree with, and it's like, ma'am. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is where you get to a place where you think that not that you're untouchable, but you can say anything you want and you're not going to get punished for it, or that won't hurt your career. And it's like, why did you say this? You are in NXT.
missed it. I didn't even hear.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't hear what she said. So what did she actually say? Do you know?
so basically, it was. I'm not sure I'm not sure if she started the conversation or she joined the conversation, but basically, it was about trans women competing in women's professional sports, and she was against it. And again, it's like no, you're in, and like no offense, you're in NXT.
Right?
You're not like you're trying to get to the main roster. You're still what you call it. Not gonna say probation, you are not in a place. You're not Charlotte. There you go. You're not Charlotte Flair. You're not even the EO Sky chick. So you can't be saying that we're trying to get you there, and you saying this crap has not helped. So I do believe that even though they love her, and hey, she's still on television. She's still on television. You're not gonna win anything big. So, but all in all,
But
you go.
CM says Moose didn't go to WWE initially because he had domestic violence issues, apparently, or he was dealing with some sort of charge of domestic violence. So, and then she says Jada liked the thing on IG and stood by it on Twitter. A person took that time to crash out and expose some eating with a Jada. All right.
It's like I don't understand for anybody. Like everyone has your socials, so I don't understand why you would take the chance like that, girl. Like I said, you on NXT, you not a real, like you're not even a Charlotte. You ain't got these chances to take on social media. Why? Because some chick at you, sis, come all the way down. We're not there yet. We're trying to get you there, and this does not help at all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 100%. And I guess, the fact that Carmen did have Ashante help her get the win is something. But yeah, I mean, knowing this now, I don't really care. But before this, I was definitely, a little surprised that Jada didn't get the win. Post match fatal influence comes in to beat Carmen up. And then we go to commercial and we come back. Julia and Stephanie are in the ring and they're having a fight with Fatal Influence. And Fatal Influence is getting the upper hand on them. And then out comes Jordan Grace, the juggernaut, for the save. And Jordan Grace clears the ring and issues a challenge for a 6-woman tag team match later tonight. Julia, Stephanie, and Jordan versus Fatal Influence. I feel a little some kind of way about this because Fatal Influence sucks. And I feel like I'm trying to push them to be like, oh, this is the team that's going to stand up against 3 of the greatest women's wrestlers on the planet at the moment. It's just not doing it for me. So, it is what it is, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love seeing. I enjoy seeing Julia and Stephanie and Jordan together. I just them against the Fatal Influence does nothing for me. I mean, for me, Fatal Influence, even with Fallon Henley's good run as North American champion, they're still at the bottom of the mid card stack to me. They're not even at the top of the mid card pile, let alone anywhere near the main event pile. And, the 3 women they're facing are at the very top of the mid card pile. So, it is what it is. But what did you think about this? The little post match. Are you interested? Were you interested? How do you feel about the match before we see it at the end of the show? Let's talk about that.
What match? Wait.
What?
Which match?
We get this match later at the end, but what do you think about this little setting up for the match later tonight, I guess? And
I don't. So for me, I don't mind it, and especially I love picture in picture. I don't mind it, especially because Roxanne and Cora Jade is 2 of your biggest heels, and right now Roxanne got the elimination chamber to worry about, so she gonna be a little bit busy. So Fatal Influence is your next big heel women as of right now, right? So I don't mind this. Them attacking Carmen like this with a stretch. It's like, dad, go what did this chick do? For her not to be in your radar at all, and you just jump this old girl. And no offense, what's the boyfriend's name again? I forget. Adonis. Like, you ain't had to hit nobody, but you could have tossed some chicks off of her. Like you could have just grab the waist and just toss them off of her. I mean, daggone it! Like you could have done something. Like jump in. You ain't got to put nobody's chin to the side, but you could just drag people off of her. And so, like I said, you don't have Roxanne, so these are the next heels up. This ain't gonna be a premium live event, but as a NXT show, yeah, this be a cool little 3-on-3. And the only thing is, do we really think that Fatal Influence had the chance against Jordan, Julia, and Stephanie? That's my only concern. It's like, no, we don't think they have a chance. This is real life. This is dumb.
Yeah, and that's my issue with it, right? Is that we know? I mean, it's like we talked about earlier with Roxanne getting the nod over Raquel for the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, I mean, you need the big, strong body. Raquel looks good in the chamber. She can body people around, throw people into it. But there's a sense of predictability. Raquel's not winning. Whereas Roxanne Perez, you're pretty sure she's not, but you don't know for sure because she is Roxanne Perez. Like, she brings a much higher percentage of a potential chance of being a winner. So much less predictability to the match. And that's, the problem with this here is that, as I always say, 3 of these things are not like the other, right? I mean, in no realm should Fatal Influence be beating these 3 women in any way, shape, or form. And so it's not believable. So the match only holds so much water for me to begin with. So,
It's like, in my opinion, make it a DQ. Make it let's put some stakes on it where it's a little bit believable. If you make it like a tornado tag match or a no DQ match, that gives a little bit more credibility of, okay, maybe they'll get a still chair and beat the crap out of Jordan. Maybe that's how they get. Yeah. Maybe that's how they beat him up. But yeah, as of right now, Jordan, Julia, and Stephanie teaming up, do it now, because in the future it ain't happening. We gotta square up against each other at some point in time. So yeah, do it now. Do it now while we're all fun and excited. Like, yay, Jordan's here.
Yeah. Stacked Tony D's out after taking a beating from Sean Spears at the end of last week's the go home show for Vengeance Day in the main event match between Ridge Holland and Tony D'Angelo for the North American title. Sean Spears and his crew came in and beat up Tony D. So Tony D is out. So Stacks is sitting at the head of the table and says he has to deal with Sean Spears on his own tonight. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of Luca and Stack stuff or the family stuff beyond Tony D. For me, this was the first time I really enjoyed Stacks. I thought he did a good job here. I thought he came across well. I thought, I thought this was a really good segment and a good look for him. I enjoyed this. So, what did you think of this little segment?
Listen. Going back to NXT 2.0, right? It was Tony D and NXT Power, so to speak, that really carried the show from time to time. Where it's just like people going against the family and people infiltrating their territory and the Gal Phantasma and them both trying to that was the highlight of the show every day, and that was a big part of that. So I am kind of glad this all right for in the meantime between time. Let Stack show a little bit more while Tony D and he should recuperate because that was a Hell in a Cell match. It's like, yeah, just take a little piece out and let's see what he got, and let's go. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it.
Next, we had Sol Ruca and Zarya versus Metaphor, Lash Legend, and Jakara Jackson. Ultimately, Sol Ruca and Zarya get the win. Zarya hits the F5, and then Sol hits the Soul Snatcher and gets the pin. This kind of surprised me. Let me work through this in my mind. So it surprised me because Zarya, they made a big deal of Zarya when she came in, kind of beside Julia and Stephanie, and they're doing their own thing. So I understand why she's quite not in the picture, and she probably shouldn't be because she's not quite on their level. She still needs some developing and some growth. So a tag team ultimately is fine with me. And Sol Ruca was gone for a while. She looked really good, and then was gone with injury for a significant amount of time. She's come back. It's taken her kind of a little bit of time to kind of warm back up, heat back up, and I would debate whether she even is heated back up. So I guess I could see her in a tag team as well. The two of them together are definitely more destined for single stuff in the future. So it feels like they're just kind of treading water as a tag team. But again, it's okay. Whereas the meta girls, whatever you want to call them, Legend and Jackson,
Jakara Lash.
They're actually a tag team, and they had been getting a push, and they had been looking really good, and now they take this loss, and it feels like two steps back, and I don't know what's going to happen for them. I mean, not that they necessarily, I don't know that I feel like they're at a point where they should be beating Zarya and Sol Ruca, and not that they got squashed. I mean, they had a good performance, but at the same, it just feels weird because it feels like you're trying to kind of push all of these women and you don't know exactly who you want to push as far as a tag team goes. And I thought it was going to be Metaphor, but now you've got these two that I guess you like now that they're together better. And so that's why they're getting the push or going over here. And the whole thing was odd to me. That being said, it was still a good match and I enjoyed it. I mean, what did you think about it?
Yeah. So, again, I think I have problems when people when I think people are getting pushed get beat by scrubs. So no one's a scrub in this match. For that, I can appreciate if whoever wins, whoever loses, right? It does. So in my mindset, they gave Lashley Sakar a lot of spotlight, and it's like, okay, let's transition towards another team. I'm gonna say it, and we're just gonna hash it out. Because it's not like NXT have enough women tag teams for them to have their own belts. But it feels like if they had their own belts, it maybe could help with the scenario of, okay, someone is your NXT Women's Tag Team Champions. That's why everybody's going for it. But again, you don't have enough tag teams. So I understand that. This was a great match. It was a great match. We love So Ruka, and we love what's
Zarya.
I don't want to call her Zarya. I was like, what's her name? Joey. Oh my god, Zarya. So yeah, so crazy enough, this is what happens when you have a whole lot of talent. And Zarya was in that whole I'm Zarya, Stephanie, and Julia, but now you got Jordan Grace. So treading water sounds bad, but yeah, we need something for you to do before we have a spot for you open. And as long as you're having a lot of time and you're getting good matches, I'm here for it. So good match. I don't hate that Zarya and Soul won. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
The notes that I have a lot of times, I read other, reviews and results from the show, and one of them said that they thought that they were surprised that Metaphor took the pin here, but that they're not long for NXT anyhow. And I was kind of confused by that. Like, were they implying that they think Metaphor is going to the main roster soon? Were they implying that they thought they were going to get fired and released? Like, I'm not totally sure what to make of that opinion.
No, no. So I think it means that they're going to the main roster because, correct me if I'm wrong, we know that Lash and Shakar was in. No, no, no. We know that Lash Legend was in the Royal
Yep.
Rumble. I don't think Zarya was in the Royal
I don't
Rumble.
think so. I don't
Correct?
remember her being in the Rumble. No, I remember Lash, but I
Yeah,
don't remember
yeah.
Chikara.
So I'm not going to call this their swan song, but if this is their swan song, this was a good match to end it on. But I do think like they've been hinting that Shakar and Lash are going to the main roster sooner than later. So if you're gonna if you're gonna choose someone for them to have their swan song with, yeah, Soul and Zarya, I don't mind that. I like their swan song, but I don't think they're not going just yet. In my opinion, like if they're going to go to the main roster, it would be after WrestleMania. So we got 2 more months before that happens.
I mean,
If that's the plan.
I, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure that I think that they feel ready for the main roster, and they definitely haven't really been booked like that in NXT. But I guess, WWE recently, the last year or so, has been taking women that don't feel like they're ready for the main roster anyhow. So this wouldn't be the first one. I
I
mean, these wouldn't be the first ones that have been taken to the main roster that didn't feel like they were ready for it. My concern is that the ones that we've thought that weren't ready for it haven't really been ready for it, and now they're suffering at the main roster. So I don't know.
Now, no, maybe I'm impartial, but I do think that Shakar and Lash are a little bit more ready than Lyra. If nothing personality wise, like sometimes it's like, okay, if you're not good in the ring, you gotta have a personality. They have enough personality where they can just be trolling in the back, and then that leads to a match, and boom, bing bang boom, you're on the card. So I think they have enough of that to survive the main roster. If you ask me, you shouldn't do it, but I do think they have enough for that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to ultimately wait and see what happens. Wesley and TNT are talking about how things are wild around NXT, and how people just randomly show up. And then here is Ricky Saints. We don't know him as Ricky Saints yet. Rick Starks, and he says he's going to answer
Yeah.
all your questions out in the arena. Ricky and Ava are in the ring for Ricky to sign his contract. He says he's ready to take this place by storm and win everything there is to win. The revolution is ready to begin, and he's ready to sign. But that's not going to happen right away because Ethan Page wants to come out and interrupt what Ricky is saying. Let's see. Page says that he's stealing or following his playbook, and that is probably guaranteed got a title match in his contract if he's smart. Um, they go back and forth a little. Ricky thinks Javon will be coming back to get his revenge on Paige, and you can tell that he's a prophet because immediately from the side of the screen where you don't see it comes Javon Evans taking out Ethan Page, and they brawl to the back. Wes Lee now comes out to interrupt the signing of Starks face to face. They have their little back and forth. Um, let's see. Ricky ultimately does sign the contract after clotheslining Wesley to the floor. And he says, that what does he say? He's absolute finishes with the pros, and you see on the contract, he doesn't say it, nobody says it, but you see on the contract in big bold letters the name Ricky Saints, which is where we get our first explanation, or not explanation, but we get his first. So we see his name first, I guess. So now we know he is technically Ricky Saints. And he is absolute, and he is on the NXT. It looks like Wesley might be his first feud and opponent, which I'm definitely here for. That would be a lot of fun. What'd you think of this, and what do you think about him and Wesley?
Listen, it's like this is this. There's a whole lot of anticipation for Ricky Saints in NXT, right? So it's just like you're here, you're on the ride. It's like just don't mess him up. Don't mess him up. For the love of God, don't mess him up. So far, so good. And more so is like okay. So let's break it down a little bit. It's a name change. I am not mad at Ricky Saints. This could have been a whole lot different. This could have been like at least it could have been named Ricky. Like we've seen people go from Walter to Gunther, from Eli Dirt to LA Knight, from from Pete Dunne to Butch. This name change does not suck. The only thing is, for me, why you put an S at the end of it? Like just be Ricky Saint. Like Ricky Saints. I don't like what accent are we doing? And I don't understand that. That's just me. So I'm calling it Ricky Saint. I'm not calling it Ricky Saints. I'm sorry. That feels weird in my mouth. But I'm okay with the name change. His first his first encounter with Ethan Page. I love that. I love that. Not just cause they're both from AEW, but it makes I love when you bring someone in, you have to actually set up. You actually set up a few. You actually know what you're going to do for him for at least the next 2 months, right? At least have a program. So him versus Ethan Page, I love it. Just on the mic, that'll be great. In the ring, that'll be great. It's going to be entertaining as hell. Case in point, just this whole promo segment talking about, hey, Javon got that dog, and I'm like, I missed you, Ricky. Like, I missed you being on my television with a freaking mic, and you just go to town on people, right? And then him versus Wesley, that's gonna be great. Like again, just let us know that you have a plan for him, and it's actually gonna be a good plan because I love everybody in this scenario. Yay!
No, this should be good. And you can tell I mean, not that we didn't already know it, but I mean, he has it, right? He has that. When you see him, it's just
Yes.
electric, right? I mean, he has that charisma and all that. So I'm very excited for Ricky. So he's one of my favorite guys. So we got Fraxium
Yeah.
backstage talking, and they get interrupted by no quarter catch crew, who, after kind of talk to Braxton for a second, take over the camera and issue a bizarre challenge to the Hardy Boys, who are the TNA Tag Team Champions for what I imagine is a title match next week. There's three, well, technically four members. One is, one's whatchamacallit, Ren Sinclair. So three men that I suppose could, I imagine it's going to be Tavian Heights and Mile Born that are going to be the two to wrestle against the Hardys. Not sure how I feel about this. Like, I mean, okay, let me rephrase this. I love Matt and Jeff Hardy. I always have. I've been big Hardy Boy fans. They're obviously have far fewer days in front of them than they have behind them. And the last time I saw Matt Hardy in AEW, and I haven't been watching TNA, so I haven't seen them. But the last time I saw him in AEW, I wasn't overly impressed. So I just I hope that you have such a fond memory of certain people, and you don't want to see those memories tarnished or see things that you're like, damn, you know what I mean? And I don't want to see the Hardy Boys
Yeah,
not
yeah.
be the Hardy Boys. I'm a little nervous about that. To be fair, if it's Born in Heights, I was kind of high on TV and Heights, before he joined No Quarter Catch Crew. But now that he's with
Yeah.
them, I feel like they don't care at all, really. They get a lot of time, but I don't think they care about them. So, they're going to come in and take a beating. The Hardy Boys will look good in beating them up and getting the win. So it'll be very interesting. I wonder if this is a one off. Obviously, the TNA, NXT WWE relationship is not a one off. But I wonder if the Hardy Boys coming to NXT is a one-off. If it is, I mean, part of me wants to say it's disappointing to see them wrestling these two at the same time. Like, I don't know that I necessarily want to see them wrestling anymore at this point, anyhow. So, it is what it is. I don't know. What do you think about this? And then Hardy Boys. We talked a little bit about this last night, but what else you got to say, or what do you want to say now?
Listen. So have you seen again? I ask again. Have you seen Hardy Boys in TNA recently? Like, have they had like
I have
so?
not.
And hey, this is what it's supposed to do, right? The whole TNA NXT crossover is supposed to get more views. So this makes me want to see, hey, are the Hardy Boys still decent? I don't need them to be the old 2000. No one can be that good for that long, right? But I just need them to be decent. So I'm gonna check it out to see, hey, if they can just, like you said, hold a good match. I love, like, if this is no, so for Denver versus North Quarter Catch Crew, this is a very weird, what you call it? This is a very weird segue to get to Axiom and Frazier. I'm like, why can't we just get to Axiom and Frazier? Now, granted, maybe it's to see how good the Hardy Boys are. I'm like, okay, let's see if they are decent. Oh, they are decent. All right, we're going to get Axiom versus Hardy Boys. I think they are doing it, and it might just be a warm up match, and that's fine. But yeah, I'm here for Hardy Boys in NXT. I just love it in NXT because that pop is going to be wild. It really is.
Yeah. The camera's following the newly signed Ricky Saint around backstage. There's a bunch of people that have been beat up: Hank and Tank, Josh Briggs, Inamura. And Ricky stops and says, "Damn, this place is crazy." That leads us into Sean Spears versus Stacks. Sean Spears gets the win with the C4 in a pretty short match. There wasn't, unfortunately, all the stuff that I thought shined for Stacks in his little promo earlier in the night didn't really translate into the ring here. And I get it. Like, I it's a weird dynamic, right? Because in theory, in the mafia, the Don has enforcers that are bigger and stronger than him. In this situation, Stacks and Luca aren't really bigger or stronger than Tony D. So it's a weird dynamic in which Sean Spears and Tony D are much more of a match for each other, whereas Stacks is outmatched compared to Sean Spears. So it doesn't surprise me that Sean Spears had the dominating win here over Stacks. The only thing that surprises me is just the Stacks' promo from earlier made it sound like we were at least going to get a little bit more of a match between these two. That being said, again, it doesn't surprise me that Sean Spears beat Stacks pretty easily, and Sean Spears is a guy that's going to ultimately, I bet, beat Tony D'Angelo. So, and Tony D is better than Stacks, so in theory, so that's it. All plays out. But yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting. I thought the match would be longer, but it is what it is. What do you think of this?
So I love that we're finally getting the culmination of Sean Spears' group. What, we don't have a name, it's fine. But like okay, we're finally getting the four of them together. They're actually color coordinate. I love coordinate. Like, okay, we're actually getting this group. They actually like a dominant force. So I'm not mad that Sean Spears Stacks took most of this offense. Or like, yeah, because like we're gonna get like this is gonna be a rivalry, right? When Tony D comes back, that's when he become full force. So I wasn't mad that Stacks didn't get that much offense, but I was more focused towards, okay, Sean Spears, we're finally doing something solid with Sean Spears, because like when he came back, it was like, I can say you're past your prime, but it's like, okay, what do we do? You're not Sean Spears exactly anymore, but you're not the chairman. I'm glad that they actually have something for him, and it actually looks like, oh, we're actually going to do something great. So I'm excited. So I wasn't disappointed that Sean Spears won or that Stacks took most of the offense, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah. Lexus King introduces himself to Moose and says, I don't like what you've done so far. And Moose says, hey, if you want it, you can get it. You want an X Division title? Let's do it next week. What do you think about Alexis King versus Moose for the X Division title next week?
All right. Like again, I think we all know that Moose is winning, right? Like he should not be losing this. So there shouldn't be a surprise. But again, warm up match with Alexis King. Cool. All right. They ain't mad at it.
I mean, your goal is to push Lexus King, right? And if that's what you want to do, putting him in a match with a guy that's ultimately going to be in a match with your NXT World Champion, goes a long way, especially if he has a good match. There's no way that Lexus King is beating Moose in any way, shape, or form, but at least it gets him in a match with main event guys, and gets him a title match against Moose. I thought it was interesting that Lexus King referred to the X Division title as the most significant in TNA. They do have a heavyweight championship that seems to be, but again, it is what it is. I mean, to be fair, you're talking to Moose, who is currently the X Division champion.
Yeah.
So you're going to try to say whatever, to make him look better. But it was a weird comment, in my opinion, I thought. I did notice that. Let's just say it that way.
Understandable.
We get Andre Chase. Go ahead.
Yes, like I said, it's gonna be a good warm up match. I wonder when we're gonna get Joe Henry back up in here, right? Like he should be back over here sooner than later, right?
I would think so. I would think so.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not, being that I don't watch TNA, I don't really know what's going on over there. So I don't know what he's got going on over there, but I would imagine that at some point he will be back on NXT again. I mean, probably sooner than later.
Yeah.
Andre Chase versus Eddie Thorpe, which was a match that was kind of arranged earlier. Eddie Thorpe does get the win with a German, or with an imploder DDT or an impaler DDT. I apologize. Under 5 minutes. This was, I don't even know what this technically is. I guess we're working towards Andre Chase getting reignited into reopening Chase U at some point. I don't know. I mean, he's hesitant. The two guys, Connor, whatever their names are, Kyle Dixon and Uriah Connor, want him to reopen Chase U, and that's where it is. But Eddie Thorpe says, no, that's not necessarily what you should be doing. And then he loses the match here to Eddie in fairly quick time. So what is Andre going to do? What should he do? What do you think about this? This was a filler match for me. What do you think about this?
More so, what is Andre Chase going through? So I haven't been paying attention to him. Quite honest, quite honestly, I wasn't sure. I didn't know about the whole people trying to recruit him to rebuild up Chase U. I'm like, but what? I'm like, so I'm looking at the match. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what is he wearing? This whole you looking like Edward Scissorhands with it. Wearing a black leotard, but wearing a black leotard, but you're freaking what's the face? But your hair is cropped to the side like you're freaking emo or something. I'm like, what are we doing here? If you want him to, but okay, I appreciate you trying. Yeah, he looks conflicted. Cool. So sure. Again, it's more so how invested are we in getting Chase U back together. Match-wise, it was fine. It was great. For me, Andre Chase has been decent in the ring where I'm like, okay, I am entertained. I'm not sure who these two new people are. So it's like we're redoing it with these two new cats. And no offense, they do not have the personality that Thea Hale and Duke Hudson had. So it's like if we're doing this, you're climbing a big uphill battle. It's one of the things where it's like, oh, we have the main character. Yeah, the main character was cool, but them side people is what really made the show. So it's like, if we're going to do it, we need some better side people. That's just my opinion. But all in all, a decent, fun match.
Well, I agree. I mean, to be fair, Thea Hale, Riley Osborne, and Duke Hudson weren't doing a whole lot either, which is why you saw Duke Hudson get released. And I don't even know what happened to Riley Osborne or what's going to happen to Thea Hale. So, yeah, and these two, Kyle Dixon and Uriah Connors, do even less for me than those guys did. So, I'm not necessarily here for any of that, but we'll end up having to see. Post match, Trick pops up on the screen and says, "It is not over with Eddie." So clearly, we're getting Trick and Eddie again. The strap match was not enough to put a bow on this. Do you want to see it again? Are you ready for these guys to be finished with each other?
I'm done. We listen. We all knew what it was. Of this is a distraction when we finally get Trick versus Oba 1-on-1. We're dragging it out just a little bit, in my opinion. No offense, I don't see Eddie Thorpe in the same level as Trick and Oba, so it's kind of like, all right, when are we gonna let this go? It's time to let the freak go, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But one more match on NXT and be done with it. All right, fine. But it needs to be one more match and it's over.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that Trick is over, but nobody really cares. I don't think anyone really cares about Eddie Thorpe. I mean, I feel like they're trying to push him and they're trying to get him over, but it's not happening. It's not working. Nobody really cares. So nobody's invested really in this feud in that regard. And unfortunately, it feels like a step down or a step back for Trick because nobody cares about Eddie Thorpe. So to a certain extent, by default, you don't really care about an Eddie Thorpe Trick feud or what's going on. Like, you care to the point where it's like, okay, let's be done with it and have Trick move on to something better, right? So,
yeah.
Let's see. Ethan. Oh wait, sorry. Hold on. Oh yeah. Let's see. Ethan Page interrupts Ava and Ricky to complain about Javon. Uh, Wesley and Javon Evans come in, and so Ava makes it a tag match next week. Ethan Page and Wesley versus Javon Evans and Ricky Saints. So that should be a fun tag team match on paper. What do you think about that next week as a tag team match?
That I'm into. I'm into all of the who is it? Forgive me, because I don't know. Who is the North American men's champion?
Oh, geez, why am I drawing a blank?
Oh, Tony D. All right,
yes,
okay. So yeah. So Tony D. And I do love what they're doing with Shawn Spears, but it is like, hey, we need that belt back because it's like it should be in this. It should be in this mix. So even though I love Shawn Spears and I love Tony D, it really is like, hey, we need that belt back into the millimeter place. So let's give that belt back, and we can put it right here in this little mix up and get this party started one more time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. This would be better with the title in the mix. So, but I'm here for all this. I think it should be fun. It's a good way to get Ricky in his first match. Him and Javon should work well together. And, it'll be interesting to see whether Wesley and Ethan Page can coexist as heels. But, yeah, I mean, I'm here for Wesley as a heel. I'm here for all that. So I'm enjoying it. The Hardy Boys are on your camera, and they are extremely excited to come to NXT and face No Quarter Catch Crew next week. And they also invite NXT Tag Team Champions Fraxium to come and watch the show. What'd you think about Matt and Jeff's little? I mean, it was very short, but what'd you think about seeing them on NXT TV?
Listen, I know we shouldn't be this hyped over a 40-year-olds wrestling, but it's the Hardys, bro. It's the Hardys, point blank. Period. It's the freaking Hardys. So every time you see them, it'll be a little bit of jolt to the system. Like making it long versus short. I think the Hardys are ready to retire. It's more so of how they want to go out. It's like how do we get the big send off that they do deserve, but you are a little bit past your prime. So it's like we want a decent match but who is going to be against? I think they're trying to figure all of that out. So to all that I will say, them versus Axiom and Nathan Frazier is a good start. And there's more shooting machine guns over in WWE too. So I'm not sure how to go through the fans of how they're going to trail this through. But if you want to give me motion machine guns versus the Hardys, and that'll be the end of that'll be the crescendo of their careers, they can finally retire and go out the way they want to. I'm here for that because they deserve it. But this is the first step. Don't say it. Nika said they're retiring. I think they know they only have a couple of years ahead of them, and they're just trying to figure out how to end it. This is a good way to. That is my 2 cents. This is a good start to the retirement tour that has not been announced.
No, I mean, it's interesting because we've talked in the past about how different styles can lead to different amounts of longevity as far as your wrestling career goes. And unfortunately, Matt and Jeff have had an extreme high flying, lots of bump style of wrestling. As a result, they probably, don't have the ability to compete into their 60s and 70s as some of these guys are, even though they don't need to be. You know, and especially not, what's very interesting is that when you're so much of a particular way most of your career, and more Jeff than Matt, because Matt was always more kind of the striker, where Jeff was always the more kind of high flyer and the more active guy. The reality is that you can always still continue to do something, but if you're not yourselves, the fans are always going to feel like it's disappointing to a certain extent. We're always going to want, no matter how old they are, we're always looking for them to be the Hardys of the 2000s, right? And to give you that show. And if they can't, you're going to be disappointed to a certain extent as a fan. And so, I don't. It's unfortunate that they could change their style probably and increase their longevity. But I don't know that the fans will buy into that or support that because they're the Hardy Boys and they think of them in a particular way. So it's almost a curse in some ways to have that kind of style where you're such a big star and then at the end you can't quite meet those same metrics again, and so it can almost diminish your legacy to a certain extent. And I hope that doesn't happen. Let's put it that way. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, totally agree. And again, if we're going to do this, if we're going to do this match, we don't need to do a lot. Like, I don't need you to go through 5 tables. Like, just go through 1 table. Just give me 1 cool spot, and I'm straight.
Yeah. All right. So it's main event time for this episode of NXT. It is Stephanie, Julia, and Jordan Grace versus Fatal Influence, the match that was sent earlier. Grace ultimately gets the win, pinning Ivy Nile with the Grace driver a little over 10 minutes. Again, like I said earlier, I was critical, and I have been critical of Fatal Influence. I do think this match did show, unfortunately, somewhat of the distance between these groups. I didn't think Fatal Influence looked terrible, but you can tell who the stars are. And not just because they're getting over, but you can just tell who's, the better wrestlers are. This was definitely a showcase for Jordan Grace to shine. We've already given Julia and Stephanie opportunities on NXT. They've been around now for a month or two. They both have a title now. Now Jordan Grace is making her debut, and this is her chance to show that she is what everyone says she is. I mean, we all know what she is, but to prove it in the ring next to Julia, next to Stephanie, to be fair, she's proving it against very underwhelming talent, so it is what it is. I'm very interested to see when these 3 ultimately have to go at it in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what that looks like. But a triple threat between the 3 of these will be very interesting to see if that's where it ends up going at some point. But yeah, I mean, I thought this was fine. Jordan Grace looked really good in her debut. Julia, Stephanie, and Jordan looked really good Fatal Influence was Fatal Influence. They did what they did. Fallon Henley is surprisingly becoming the star of that group. I think they thought JC
Surprisingly.
I think they really thought JC Jane would be the big the big standout, but Fallon Henley's definitely kind of taken that over, and she's the one that I think is definitely the biggest star of that group now, and she's the best wrestler of the group. And that's saying a lot because she's only developed a lot over the last year or so. Before that, JC Jane was definitely the best wrestler of the group. So, but Fallon Henley's taken that over, and I'm growing to like Fallon Henley. The other two I still don't care for. But with the winners, the three women that got the win should have got the win, and they stood tall in the ring
Yes.
afterwards. So, what do you think of the match?
Um, like we already knew what it was gonna be, right? So there's no surprise there for me. Uh, like you said, this is basically a showcase. If you've been under a rock and you don't know who Jordan Grace is, here she is. She's the powerhouse, and she's here to what do you call it? To wreck shop, basically. And so knowing what it is, we're just basically promoting the new chick. Yeah, this was a decent freaking match. Um, Side note, what do you think of Jordan Grace coming to NXT and not to the main roster? I am not mad at it, but I know some people are like, "Oh, she was already ready for the main roster." What did you
Well,
think?
yeah, I think she is probably ready for the main roster, as is Stephanie, as is Julia. But the reality is that right now, the NXT Women's Division is the best in wrestling, and I like her spot there. I mean, I think that NXT, the Women's Division, is thriving at the moment, and adding Jordan Grace to the mix with Julia and Stephanie and Roxanne Perez, and Bailey, who's been in and out, and Zarya, who's gonna come around here in the near future. It's the main event bubble looks very good for NXT. My guess is the bulk of those women aren't destined to stay on NXT for too long. My guess is both Julia,
Yeah,
Stephanie, and Jordan Grace, Roxanne Perez are probably all going to the main roster within the next year or so. That would be my guess. I don't know what that time frame looks like, but I'd be surprised if the bulk, if more than one of them is still around after in a year from now. But that being said, right now it's extremely exciting, and I'm watching Jordan Grace compete with Julia and Stephanie and Roxanne and Zarya holds more interest for me than at the main roster at the moment. And again, Rhea doesn't have interest for me. Jordan versus Rhea, or Jordan versus Io, but I really like Jordan versus the other women in NXT at the moment. So I like it. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. If if Julia and Stephanie had gone right to the main roster and Jordan didn't, then I'd be a little like, well, what's going on here? But the fact that they've
okay.
done this now with the three biggest, women stars that they've brought in the last 6 months to a year, they've all put them in NXT, and they've all, I don't have a problem with it. She's getting basically the same treatment, and that's the treatment she should be getting. So
Yeah. In my brain, like I'm not sure they'll ever do it again, but I would love it. Like when it was 2016 and they brought Tasha, Charlotte, and Bayley at the same time. I want that to do that. I want them to do it again. I want them to bring in Julia, Stephanie, and it would have been Roxanne, but she's a heel. Like so maybe Jordan Grace. I wanted to bring in three chicks to come at the same time and just ruck shop. I would love to do that again.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think that would definitely be fun on the main roster, and they would definitely make an impact on the main roster. Whatever show they went to would be, would definitely make that women's division, one of the best on the planet immediately. So let's see. The show doesn't end there, though. We see Ava's office, and it's been trashed. Mr. Stone is down, and the words "No one is safe" is painted on the wall. Uh, this comment here that from this review I'm reading for the notes says uh, Ava doesn't quite know what happened at the end of the show. She's not overly bright, is she?
You know what?
That's a little
That's
harsh.
unnecessary.
That's a little harsh. That's a little.
That was hard to tell.
But
That was hard to tell.
needless to say, we get another cryptic message. I'm assuming from the four men in masks that have been on NXT and beating everybody up. Anything you want to say about the little go off the air segment here?
Listen. We've already been through a retribution, right? I need y'all to do better.
And yes,
I'm not saying it's like we're not it's blah 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 blah. It's hard. They're not doing a bad job with this group. We're still going slowly, but there are little hints of, oh crap, this does remind me of that other group. So to that I say, please take care of whoever's in this group. Please take care. Please learn from the mistakes of old and do better. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. This episode of NXT, I thought it was okay. Other than Moose and Oba really facing off, there wasn't anything on the show that I thought did a whole lot for me. I'm happy to see Jordan Grace on the show, and her being there was fun. Julia and Jordan and Stephanie together is fun. Them facing Fatal Influence in the main event doesn't do a whole lot for me. So in that regard, and even though, like you said, I think they are doing a good job with it so far, they haven't given me necessarily enough yet to make me really be like, oh shit, look at how the show ended. These guys are crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still not quite there yet on the four people. It does have a slight retribution feel, and I'm concerned because I feel like when they try to do these angles, it never really plays out well. So I'm concerned that, as usual, it's not going to play out well. And I get, here's the thing. We already know one of the members is Dion Lennox, and he's been at best mid-card, lower mid-card on NXT. I'd say filler in that dumb, whatchamacallit, with Ashante feud with Ashante with the women backstage. That's the most he's had. Unless the other three guys with him are superstars that we've never seen before, and when they take their masks off, we'll be like, oh shit, and I can't imagine that because we've seen everything but their nose and mouth. They're all mid-card or developing talent, and that scares me because you don't know what you're going to get. They could be very bad as well, which was part of the issue with Retribution. Part of the issue was the way they were booked, but those guys were even better. At least we knew who Dijak was. At least we knew, you know what I mean, that Mace was okay. We knew Mansoor could wrestle. We don't have any idea who these guys are, and those guys couldn't get it over. So I'm a little nervous about four real unknown developmental guys trying to do this, but I guess we'll have to see what ultimately plays out. At this point, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just a little nervous for how it's going to play out. I thought this show was down overall for NXT, not necessarily in a bad way, necessarily bad, but just down for them. I give this a C. I give this a C this week. I thought it was a solid C. Nothing great, nothing terrible. I thought it was, satisfactory. So I gave it a C.
I totally agree. One moment here. Yeah, I totally agree. What I was gonna say, like you said, we're on the road to WrestleMania, which means we're on the road to Collision NXT Takeover. So to that aspect, this is more filler than not. If it was me, even though Jordan Grace is great, I might have done the Oba and Moose thing at the end. I think that would have been a better punch of a go home segment. That's just me.
I agree.
But like you said, there's nothing really egregious about this show. It was just, a couple of good segments, but it was fine. So I agree. I'll give it a C plus. I'll give it a C plus. How about that?
All right. So we are on to our last show, which is AEW Dynamite, that Anika will take us through.
Yeah. All right. You can't see me, but I am here. I'll be back on camera in a minute. All right. So this was Dynamite from last Wednesday, and last Wednesday was the day of February. We start off with we start off with what we've been waiting for the past, I was at the beginning of 2025, the Hangman and MJF showdown. Both come to the ring, both are in the ring, and it's like, just get it popping. Let's just get it started. And of course, MJF starts first because he is MJF. And basically, he's like, what is it about you that people love? He reminded us that 5 years ago, and this is egregiously stupid, that when they did the first ever Dynamite Diamond Ring Challenge, it was Hangman that he beat for the ring. I forgot about that. Do you remember it was Hangman? I did not. I forgot it was Hangman that he beat for the ring.
I did not remember it until you said it.
All I remember was DDP was there and he put his gun in DDP's hand, and that was gross as hell. That's all I remember of that. That's all I remember of that whole moment, right? So I love that MJF brought that up, and then like I said, he was just more so of. Since that happened, I went on to win championships. I went on to have in his opinion, the greatest AEW World Championship title reign. I still think Moxley and Pandemic is the best, but that's neither here nor there. And he was like, "What have you done, Hangman?" But for some reason, again, here comes MJF's insecurities. The people love you. I'm not sure. He's like, and why? Because you're a cowboy and you have emotions, and he's like, but you the same, and he kept saying the same man who blah 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 blah, the same man who so and so and so, and then we get to the same man who burned someone's house down, but for some reason they're still with you. But me, I'm not redeemable. Why are you redeemable? The same man who took out Christopher Daniels, and that's when the flip switched for Hangman. He's like, "Don't you dare say anything about Christopher Daniels. You are not the man he is." As a Christopher Daniels fan, I can't say yay or nay to it. I just say I love Christopher Daniels. TNA for life. So I won't disagree with you. I'll just say that, huh? I'll just say that. I don't disagree with you. He's like, if I could take out my spleen and give it, and him, I was like, I could take out my spleen and give it to Christopher Daniels, I would. It's like, oh. And so he's like, I don't know why these people love me. I don't know why these people are still behind me. I can't, but I'll just tell you this. I won't lie to them. Unlike you, I won't betray them. And so, MJF being the butthurt person he is, because all this leads to him being butthurt about the fans not liking him. And sir, we did like you. We did actually back you up because you weren't a good guy turned bad guy. Yeah, you weren't a good guy turned bad guy. You were a bad guy turned good guy. We were still behind you. You left. You came back. We were still behind you, but because you were our top favorite, we had other priorities. You want to go back to turning heel because you just a little attention baby, right? And so that comes to a draw. So, side note, they couldn't touch. This is a face-off. They can't touch each other. Not sure who signed. Probably, TK said they can't touch each other. They can only talk. So they're just going face to face, nose to nose, and so MJ was still like, but you're still not anything. Like, all I needed was a scarf and a mic. So you tell me, what do you have, Hangman, that I don't? And Hangman says, I'm real. It's like, oh, that's Hangman. And then MJF ends it perfectly. Was like, if I have to be the villain of your main character's story, then that's what I'll be. Stare off. They feel like they're gonna square up with each other, and then hey, you can't do that. You can't do that. Let's put your face off, and then MJF with this nasty foolishness spits in Hangman's face. I need y'all to tell me who signs off on this, bro. We gonna have to reheat this thing up some other way. You was not spitting in my face, point blank, freaking period. So Heyman gets crazy, but here comes Christopher Daniel, and he's just like, listen, don't let MJF get in your head. You know who you. In the words of Mufasa, remember who you
Remember.
And so I love that. I love. So even though we went through a crazy, I don't say crazy, but like a little bit, like when Heyman was going to get Christopher Daniels, we're like, what is this? What are we doing? It's finally paying off. We're turning Heyman to come back to us as our cowboy, and I can't wait for this to pop off. In my mind, Revolution is in March. This probably should be a Revolution match. This whole segment was great. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I hated it. The whole thing from beginning to end. I thought it was terrible.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, for one, like, I don't know. Like, I'm going to be hypercritical here, and it's going to sound really terrible. But like,
I'm glad you know this. Okay.
I don't like Hangman's look. I don't like the heavy 70s porn mustache with the very thin stubble and the terrible haircut with the extremely tight shirt and the extremely tight pants. I apologize. And the little tiny, like, I don't even know what you call that necklace thing he has around his neck. I'm sorry. He looks like a gay porn star. I apologize. I know that sounds terrible.
Okay. Now listen. So for me, I like it because that's heel Hangman. We know when Hangman becomes a baby face when he shaves it off. That's just me. So I'm like, the day he comes to Dynamite or whatever pay-per-view you come to, and the mustache is gone, and he actually is clean shaven, that's when we get, okay, he's back. Hangman is back. He's not a heel anymore. And I'm pretty sure your wife will like that too. You can't tell me it's been difficult for her to sleep with you with the freaking beard. I'm sorry. That's just me. All right, I'm sorry.
So I was critical of that, and I didn't really care for the style of promos that they had. I felt like it was too long-winded. It wasn't hard-hitting enough. There wasn't enough. It was too much like introspective and not sensitive, but it was just too sensitive to a certain extent in some regards. And I don't just say fuck you and fight. Like, I don't need to hear a whole bunch of mess about, I don't know. And then the post Christopher Daniels stuff. Like, I understand that, like, I'm a Christopher Daniels fan too. I'm a huge Christopher Daniels fan. And, there's no denying the impact Christopher Daniels has had on wrestling. And I don't know anything, but clearly there's no denying the impact Christopher Daniels has had on Adam Page.
Yeah.
It's still only Christopher Daniels. Like, I love the man to death, but it's only Christopher Daniels. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like we're talking about the greatest wrestler of all time. And no disrespect to Christopher Daniels, but it's only Christopher Daniels. And I love the guy, but it's Christopher Daniels. So, in that regard, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. And I to a certain extent, I'm excited for Hangman and MJF. The match itself should be really good. I just didn't care for this promo battle at this particular situation. And honestly, they were so close, I was expecting them to kiss at the very end, which would have been fitting for this promo situation. So, it is what it is. The match will be good, but for me, I didn't think this hit the mark. But
I love stories. I love every minute of this. I don't need y'all to just say F you and fight. So I loved every minute of this. But as you can see, this is why we have 4 horse people in workhorses in our division. Fine. Moving on. All right, we have a backstage interview segment with Undisputed Kingdom. The main event of tonight, we're doing a international championship series. We're doing a tournament to find out who will be our next competitor for. Listen. We're going to talk about why this is happening when we get to the main event, because it's very, this is what happens when I guess you don't communicate with people. I'll just say that. But
Let me see if I can get some clarification without spoiling too much, because I am 100% thoroughly confused. So you're about to talk about the match that we're going to have tonight, which is the first. The winner goes against Takeshita for the title, though. So how is that a tournament? But yet then on Collision, we're getting another match in the championship series. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. If Takeshita is the champion, isn't he the one that gets wrestled at the very end? Why is the winner of this match wrestled Takeshita and then they still? I don't understand. That makes no sense to me.
I don't think they wrestled Takeshita. I might have to review the tape, but I do think we're doing a tournament, and whoever wrestles on Collision, they wrestle the person who wins tonight, and the winner of that goes against Takeshita.
Okay, maybe so. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe they weren't making it clear enough. So
yeah. No. So what kind of messed this up was during AEW Grand Slam Australia, Kenny calls out Takeshita for the international title.
Right.
Now, why would you do that and have a tournament? Because no offense.
At the same time.
Yeah, because no offense. Anyone in this, unless Ospreay is in this international championship tournament, nobody's beating Omega. Unless there's unless there is some heavily deep, what's the word? Interference. Like someone cracks Omega in the ribs with a lead pipe. Omega's winning this, and Omega's going against Takeshita. So I'm not sure. Like maybe you don't do the segment with Omega calling out Takeshita. Maybe you don't do that, or like I said, and just let him be in the tournament. I think I would have done that. But yeah, you having that promo on Grand Slam, it's like, oh, that's the end. Like I said, unless you hit Omega with a lead pipe in his stomach, it's gonna be Omega versus Takeshita. So it does kind of seem like all of the other matches are a moot point. But I will still enjoy them.
Four people don't make a tournament. Like you can't have two matches and the two winners. Like that's not a tournament. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like I mean, yes, in the purest sense of the word, it's a tournament.
They did call it a series. They call it a series. So that's why it's not a tournament. It's called a series. We're going to do a four-part match series, like a 4-part Netflix special, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
All right then.
But yeah, so Undisputed Kingdom was hyping up Roddy's match against OC. OC's coming back from a long break, and I like that. I want to say the last time we saw him was at a pay-per-view, and the Death Riders kind of took him out. So I appreciate that little hint of let him stay gone for a minute. What's his name? Cal O'Reilly finally acknowledged that he was with the conglomeration. He's like, hey, OC's my boy. But tonight it's Graphic time, so it's like, hey, I chose a side. I love you, you're cool, but I'm Team Rock. And so, you end it with that's undisputed. I do love, I feel like even though we're not at the lights that they were in NXT, we're getting Adam Cole, Roddy, and Cal we're on a good track right now. So I'm here for the ride, even though this tournament feels a little silly. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I do think that you're seeing, AEW at the moment is an interesting dynamic for me because when Undisputed Era was the dominant faction on NXT Black and Gold, and NXT Black and Gold for that period of time was probably the best product WWE was putting out. Because of the show they were on, they were really big fishes in a smaller pond. And even though NXT was doing it big at the time and was beating Raw and SmackDown for all intents and purposes and being the best of the three shows, that there wasn't necessarily the same main roster guys on the NXT at the time, and now you're seeing Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong, who are three really good wrestlers, but probably not the Will Ospreys, probably not the Takeshidas, maybe
Yeah.
not the MJFs, and so they're not having that same level of success in AEW that they were having necessarily in NXT. It'll be interesting to see what the ultimate outcome becomes and how over they get, but it feels like they're a little bit they're a little bit down the rung in AEW as opposed to where they were in NXT as far as being, the cream of the crop. Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah. Like hindsight is 2020, but it feels like when Adam Cole debuted AEW in 2021, it felt like you should have started with an Iron's Heart. You shouldn't have prolonged that. You should have just started with an Iron's Heart. Let him win something. You didn't have the international title yet, so like let him win the TNT title. He should have been winning something. I do agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do like where they are now, and hopefully you just keep building till you get to a good, nice little spot.
I do too.
Yeah.
I like where they're at as well.
Yeah. Now we officially have our first match of tonight. We have Christian Cage and the Patriarchy against the Ops. Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata. Now listen. We're not creative. Well, we're not that creative. You get like creating a name for a group is very much so hard. We already said this last week or whenever you said it. We've heard worse. But the whole what you call it presentation of when they came out on that stage and this fire and it's the Ops on the jumbotron, the Ops never lacking. It's like we gonna ride with you. We gonna see what it's about. We gonna see how good it is. So yeah, it's like the whole presentation got me extra hype for this group, even though you didn't really need it, right? So the match finally hits, and it's just fun. It's so much fun. It's like I love when Samoa, like even though Shibata is a seasoned wrestler, I love Samoa Joe is the veteran, and he's teaching Shibata and Hook new stuff. Like one little spot was the whole tripping them and just going for a senton, and I think Shibata did it. It's like, oh yeah, learn from your leader. And then Christian Cage being the troll, where he's like, listen, I'm not dumb, so I'm not getting in this ring with Samoa Joe. That's just in my mind just stupid. And then even the ending where it's like, listen, even though Samoa Joe and Christian Cage are the main characters, both of these groups are to build up the younger stars. So the end of the match, you have the little face off between Hook and Nick Wayne, and that was cool. And then Nick Wayne goes for a cutter, but Hook catches him with the red rung, and then on the outside you have Shibata choking out Kip Sabian, and again Christian is not having any of this. So Samoa Joe's trying to catch Christian, but he can't. And all in all, the Ops win. It's like we'll talk about. I'll just say it now, but we'll talk about the match. Like, tell me when they beating the D Ride for the Trios Championships. They should win. They should be. They like who should beat them for the titles? This team. I want Samoa Joe, Hook, and Shibata versus Claudio, Pac, and Yuta. That's what I want for Revolution. Book it, Tony. But what do you feel about this match?
I enjoyed this a lot. I mean, I've been not disappointed. Disappointed isn't the right word. I've wanted to see more from Nick Wayne. When he got signed a year and a half ago now, it seems like, it was I was very hot on it, and I thought, oh, cool, he's going to be with Christian. That's going to help him a lot. And I think it has. And at the same time, I feel like he hasn't really gotten a lot of actual in-ring work. I mean, the matches he does are kind of few and far between, and they're always multi-man matches, it seems to be. So I want more for him. And I don't know if that means he has to break away from the patriarchy or not, but to be fair, he was only 18 or 19 when they signed him, so he's all of 20 now. So it's not like time is pressing in on him or anything, or they got to hurry. And I understand taking it slow. At the same time, like there is something to be said for striking while the iron's hot. And I feel like he came in with a lot of fanfare and a lot of notoriety, and then they haven't really done a whole lot with him. And so, in that regard, I'm a little disappointed. But getting Hook and Nick Wayne in the ring together, that's what I like. I mean, assuming you can get Hook to develop a little more rapidly, and he has been over the last 6 to 8 months. There's two of your future anchors or stars for AEW, right? Nick Wayne and Hook.
Yeah.
I mean, Hook's a little older, and it is what it is. But I mean, they're still two future stars, so that you could, let can help carry AEW for a long time. So in that regard, it's great to see them. Samoa Joe is always that dude, and
Yeah.
he's that dude in a room full of those dudes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's the alpha male in a room full of alpha males. So even though Shibata is the dude, like, you still listen when Joe talks. Like, it just is what it is, right? And so in that regard, I mean, the Joe Shibata Hook is everything that the learning tree should be and isn't, right? Like, that's exactly how it should work and should be, and yet it isn't. And so you can see like the total comparison. And so I'm here for it. And I thought this match was a lot of fun. The ops never lacking, like you said, we talk about the creative, it is what it is. I wasn't as into it as you were, the intro's fine. I mean, those three guys are all cool and they all have their own swag so I get it. At the same time, I'm not necessarily a big fan of the names and when they put up never lacking right below it on the Titantron or on the Jumbotron, I was like, oh, I don't know about that. But you liked it and I didn't. So to each their own. So it just shows you how opinions vary, and that not everyone's going to like everything, and some people are going to like it and some people aren't. So as long as there are plenty of people that like it, it doesn't matter. And the reality is that it's a fun trio. Them beating the D Riders. Whew. Ultimately, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing this trio as trio champions. For me, Samoa Joe and Jon Moxley is 50-50. That's a wash. So now you've got Claudio and Shibata, and that feels to a certain extent kind of like a wash. I know how talented Shibata is, but Claudio is so in his bag at the moment, and he's that dude. Not that Shibata isn't, but he's that dude. So I almost give a slight edge to Claudio. And unfortunately, between Wheeler and Hook at this moment in time right now, Wheeler has a huge upper hand on Hook. That's just the way I see it. And so in that regard, it could be a hair of a stretch for them to be beating the D-Riders for those titles at the moment. At the same time, I'm not opposed to it. I really like them, and I would love to see them as trios champions. I just need to see how it's going to play out. If it's Joe pinning Yuta, that's fine. If it's Hook pinning Moxley, that I'm not really okay with, or Hook pinning Claudio, like that I'm not really okay with. So it just depends on how it all plays out and how they work all that out. But yeah, I mean, I'm here for that feud. I think it would be a lot of fun. So yeah, I thought this match was good, and I'm here for the ops in general. I wish I had a better name, but I'm here for the ops in general.
All right. Then we have a backstage segment with Chris Jericho and Renee Paquette. And Renee was being, yeah, right. And Renee was being hella shady, talking about hey, so Chris Jericho, Grand Slam Australia didn't end how you wanted to. How do you feel? It's like, ma'am, how do you think I feel? And so, even though we don't like Chris Jericho, I did kind of like him in this segment, and he was like, basically, how do you think I feel? Huh? You trying to be petty? It's like he's like, but remember that it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have a job. And so she's like, oh dang, okay, you wouldn't feel like, yeah, hell yeah, okay. Like, listen, again, I don't like Jericho. But let's not be shady during interviews, all right? I'm gonna get the shade back. I don't care. And so, and then he was like, you know what? I'm kind of pissed off, but not pissed off. but I'm kind of tired of people thinking that I'm just some regular dude. I am Chris Jericho. I am the Nuevo, whatever. I'm sorry, Nueve, whatever. He's like, what do you know what that means? 9-time champion. So he's like, I'm tearing up the bounty. Thank God. I turn up the bounty, and I'm going to face Desperado. What's his name? I wanted
Bandito.
Bandito. I'm going to face Bandito at Collision for my Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. Side note, I forgot he was the freaking ROH champion. I'm like, what the freak? So he hasn't been on ROH at all. Like someone tell me something, because I forgot. I forgot. What was the last person he faced was Matt Cardona, and that was when that's a great.
September or October, it feels like now. I mean, that was a long time ago already. Like,
that's egregious. That is hella egregious. But I actually like this segment for Chris Jericho. Any thoughts?
I mean, this, as far as Chris Jericho goes, this wasn't the worst Chris Jericho segment ever. He's, he's, whether we want to admit it or not, the reality is he's not just another dude. He really is Chris Jericho, unfortunately. I hate to admit that, but he actually is. And he does have a little bit of pull. And when he says stuff like, a lot of these people wouldn't have careers if it wasn't for me, he's probably not wrong, right? I mean, I don't like the guy.
Point it out. Yeah.
But he's probably not wrong. So,
right.
In that regard, it is what it is. That being said, if Bandito doesn't beat him for this title, I'm going to be very upset. Like, I'm not really watching Ring of Honor at the moment, but, the fact that he's the Ring of Honor champion and that no one can even remember that, and that it's been probably 4 months since he's defended it, tells you all you need to know. So, yeah, I mean, they need to get the belt off of Chris Jericho and put it back on somebody that can actually do something on Ring of Honor with it and defend it and all those kinds of things. And I'm here for Bandito, getting a run with the belt. I mean, he's as good as anybody else, might as well. So, and, Bandito's the kind of guy that his reputation precedes him. And, he's got a very active following already. People love Bandito and know him. And putting the belt on him probably brings you another set of eyes that maybe you don't already have. So,
facts. And I love that. This wasn't this week, but it was last week. They pointed out that Bandito was a great ROH champion, and he did not lose his title. The pandemic happened, and I think he couldn't get his visa straightened out, if I'm not mistaken. But basically, he did not get beat for the title. So that's a nice little side piece to the ROH story.
Sure, which is why, he's the perfect guy to take the belt off of Jericho now.
Yes.
So.
All right. Now, more so, the best part of the learning tree, we're finally getting Big Bill versus Powerhouse Hobbs in a street fight. Listen. I am very happy that, not sure whose decision it was, where they didn't make Hobbs go into the Jericho vortex. It was a learning tree vortex. But basically, it was less what you call it, involvement of Chris Jericho, and it has been just Big Bill versus Will Hobbs. I loved it, and case in point, this match was what it was: a big meaty men slapping meat with chairs, barbed wires, and bats. Like I said, I love the match. It was very entertaining. That was crazy. They're on the outside of the ring, and freaking Big Bill throws some electrical. I'm like, what? Like, he threw some big box at Will Hobbs' stomach. It's like, I think we're all like, what is that? Is that something for the mics? We've never seen that ever in our lives. So you just checking it at a person is wild. Big Bill being, look, we hate heels. Big Bill is a very swaggy heel. Whereas, like, when he's in his bag, he's in his bag. He's spine busters. Will Hobbs into the table. Into the stairs. And Will Hobbs is busted open, and Bill puts the blood on his lips and starts doing a weird. That's like, sir, what is wrong with you when you be beating people up? It's like you're in a different zone. And then here comes Brian Keith to help out. They dap each other up like, yeah, both Chris Jericho. Let's give these two people. I'm like, sorry. And then we focus, but of course, Powerhouse is Powerhouse. He gets up. He goes wild as well. He choke slams Brian Keith into a table to get rid of him, and then it's Big Bill and Will Hobbs on the outskirts. Somehow, that year I didn't see it, but a barbed wire table is set up, and sorry, brain fart. Big Powerhouse choke slams Big Bill into the barbed wire table, and I think it was the last man standing match because Big Bill he wasn't unconscious, but he was wrapped up in barbed wire, so he was trying to get up, and it was ding ding ding. Will Hobb beats Big Bill in this incredible fight. I loved every minute of it. This should be the end. Don't do nothing else because this is the perfect rivalry. It's done. Any thoughts?
Yeah, on opposite ends of the spectrum tonight. I did not really enjoy. I was extremely disappointed by this. I mean, I thought they had a couple good spots. I thought the final spot with the barbed wire table was pretty good. I don't know that it was the last man standing match. It felt like even though there shouldn't have been because it was no DQ, it felt like he just got counted out because he couldn't get up and get back into the ring. Almost like he couldn't free himself from the barbed wire, so they counted 10. So, it is what it is. I mean, I didn't feel like when you have people that haven't really wrestled before together and or that, I haven't seen wrestle together before. I don't know what they've done before outside of AEW or whatever, but, there's always an issue of what the chemistry might look like. And I just feel like the two of them maybe just didn't have the best chemistry for me. It looked a little clunky. It was a little slow. It was a little plodding. It was kind of how I felt a little bit about Gunther and Orton. I mean, it was a little more exciting because they had, weapons and chairs and there was those kind of spots, but like it just felt slow and methodical. It felt like it took a while to get to it. And all that said, the match was only like 7 minutes. So the fact that it felt that long and it was really short tells me that it didn't come off the way that they were hoping it would. But again, I do like both of these guys. I just don't know that these two together had the best chemistry for me in this match, in this situation. But it is what it is. I mean, throwing the little mixer at him I thought was kind of cool. The spot with the barbed wire table was cool. There was a lot of heavy striking, which you expect to see between two guys like this. It felt slow. It felt like it dragged. It felt like it never quite really got going. And maybe they're going to do it again. I mean, I know you said you don't want to see it again. Maybe they're planning on doing it again, so they wanted to leave something left that they could do down the road. I don't know, but it just didn't hit for me.
To each his own. I understand. For me, I will say this: it feels like after he hit the mixture, the crowd went dead. The crowd was a little confused, like, what the freak just happened? I think that did hurt the match. Whereas the crowd was confused, like, is he okay? Is he really okay? It's like, yeah, he's fine. Right. He's against it. Yay! I don't want Will Hobbs in this vortex, even though I love that it was just Big Bill and him. I don't want him in this vortex any longer than he needs to be. So that's why I say don't do this anymore. If you want to do it one more time, then fine. But please just keep it as Big Bill versus Will Hobbs.
I like both these guys. I just don't know what I want for both of them. At this point in time, I mean, I'm not, it's a good thing I'm not a booker because I'm bad at it. And in my mind, I just don't know what I would do with either of them. But I like both. I just don't know what I would do with them. So we'll have to see what ends up happening.
Understandable. And then we get another backstage. Hell of backstage segments. We got Brian Cage and Lance Archer calling out the Hurt Syndicate for those tag team titles. Listen, I'm not mad at that. For a nice little AEW Dynamite match, that will be very tasty. I wouldn't mind that at all. Any thoughts on that?
No, I'm here for the Murder Machines, as they called themselves, for Murder Machine versus versus whatchamacallit. I'm here for it. I think it should be a lot of fun. I mean, it's, yeah. I had total brain faith. I was going to say something and then I totally forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, I'm here for it. I think that Brian Cage and Lance Archer are a solid team, and it should be fun. So
Yeah, and more so, it gives her syndicate something to do because it does
Yeah.
feel like where the frick are all the tag teams at? It does feel like that. Like you gave the belts to her syndicate. They do need to defend them, and they are missed on television. So it's like, yeah, they should be on. For me, they should definitely be on my television more. So
Yeah, I
where,
mean, there was a period of time where the tag team division was definitely the best division in AEW, and
yeah,
now it's definitely not. So
yeah.
um, they still have the talent on the books. They just aren't using them that way. They're just not around, and they're just not using them. I mean, so
Yeah, so definitely reheat this up. Okay. And then we have the great segment, the celebration of Timeless Tony Storm and her coronation as your four-time AEW Women's World Heavyweight Championship. Listen, if we had a bingo card 5 years ago when AEW got started, who would be your first four-time women's champion? I would have not said Tony Storm. I would have not. I'm
I don't
like,
even think she was on the card.
yeah, right, right. But even so, when she appeared, it's like 4 times, and I'm trying to think when. I'm like, okay, she won at Wembley, she won here, she did it on when she was with the Outcast. What was the other time? I was like, what was the other time? Like, this is really 4 times. But
Yeah,
either
I
way,
don't remember. I don't remember all four either. I really only remember,
yeah,
honestly, the last two. I remember Mariah May beating her for the title, and I remember her her being champion when Mariah May beat her, and then I remember her beating Mariah May just recently. But yeah, I don't necessarily remember the first two. Um, but no, I mean, I take their word for it. But this celebration was amazing.
it was. So we have Lufa, we have Tony Storm out in her glamorous, beautiful gown. Listen, again, I'm not going to try to tell you verbatim what she said. I will not do it justice. I'm going to just highlight some of what she said. So she was like,
The beginning
Mariah,
was illegible anyhow. Like the first two sentences she said, I don't think anybody was supposed to understand. So
when we get to Mariah May, she's like, "You bitch," and she's like, and so you, I'm gonna mess it up, but I don't care. I beat you with a small package, and people say big things comes to small packages, and small packages. Well, I just rammed you with the smallest package known to man. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You can't tell me what you call it, that she ran this by anybody and they said yes. You keep saying this on, even though we're on cable, you can say this on national television. You can't, but I'm glad because it was hilarious. And then
it was hilarious.
she's like, shameless plug. Go see Queen of the Ring, my movie, on March 7th. I'm like, yes, because you're timeless. She's timeless. And so she's like, and to the people in the back, she's like, the Willows, the Thunderosas. I am not hard to find, and and when you face me, I will be forever timeless. Like, listen, I don't need a when people win a belt. I don't really need a whole lot of hoopla. I just need the day after, or okay, the show after, a spotlight is shown on them, give them their time, and hype us up for what's to come. This did that. I don't know what's to come, but I am here for it. Do you have any thoughts?
This was brilliant. I mean, this is the best Tony Storm. We've talked about that before. And the promo itself is brilliant. I mean, from the illegible stuff in the beginning that I'm assuming that only people in England that have a particular accent are able to discern. I'm sure she said something. I don't know what it was. But yeah, no, then all the spots she hit that you pointed out. No, I mean, this is, she's in her bag and this is perfect. And you said it. And I'm a little surprised, not to take anything away from her, but I am a little surprised that she's the first ever four-time AEW Women's World Champion. Not because I don't remember them, just because of all of the amount of women that they've had and that have been through there and all those things. So,
Right?
and the fact that the company's only 6 years old and we've already had one 4-time women's champion. So
That part.
there's that too. That could be an indictment of the lack of, overall women in booking and amount of attention that they're getting.
Focus.
So, there is
Yeah.
that. That being said, this was amazing and Tony Storm is brilliant. So,
Yes.
I'm here for this. I love this character, and yeah, I know there's nothing else that can be said negative about it. So, I'm here for her to challenge all the women backstage. Willow's, I forget the other name she mentioned. She mentioned the other
Oh,
name. You
JP
said it.
haters, give us that
Yeah,
match, please.
yep. All the
That's all
Chris
you want us.
Statlanders. I think she mentioned Chris Statlander. So
Yeah.
the Chris Statlanders, the Willows,
I think
all
she
those.
has Rosa. Yeah.
Let's see them all. The Thunder Rosas. Let's see them all. So, yeah. No, I'm here for it. I hope that by putting the belt on Tony again, we're gonna try to heat up that women's division a little bit because it's been cold since Mariah's been champion. It just has.
Yeah.
I mean,
And even then, when Tony was timeless and she was a champion, we really didn't hype anybody up besides Mariah May. So I'm hoping this go around, we get some newcomers. We get at least 2 more hyped up people on her level. Where like again, her first it was definitely entertaining, but we did need to bring out some better stars in her run. So I hope we do that during this run.
agreed.
All right. Next up, they tell us that Game Kid's gonna be on Collision. What's up, boo? That's gonna be hilarious. And yes, please, all of that. Any thoughts?
I mean, I like Gabe Kidd. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know what this means. I don't know if his career is up in New Japan. I don't know if he's officially signing.
Right?
This is a
Yeah.
one-off. I don't know what's going on, but my only concern. Here's my only concern is just that you already have so many people and a lot of people that don't get time, and I don't want him to be a victim of not getting enough time. So that's my only concern.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, if we're gonna use them right. I definitely agree with that.
Right.
All right. And so now we have a Willow backstage segment with Renee Paquette. And and Willow is not happy at all. And I totally agree. She's like, listen, Marina and your husband has been making this year really hard for me. I'm like, well, poor Renee. She got chewed up by Jericho, now Willow. But this is more so like in both kind of justifiably so. The whole thing like hey, she can't control her husband, but it's like, dang it, I felt her pain. I can't catch a break this Dynamite. But yeah, but she's like, I'm not gonna take it anymore. I'm tired of this. And here comes Q Marina. But unlike last time, she was prepared. It was actually a little bit of a fight, but Marina has a briefcase in her hand. So when in doubt, hit Willow with a briefcase. It slammed her into all the equipment. I don't care what anyone says. Listen. Sorry, my brain hurts. With Willow, I know she hasn't met the height that we want her to, that she deserves to, because she is that chick and she is good in the ring and she's just great, right? But I think she has enough cachet where to be Marina's first match. Like, I'm all here for Marina versus Willow. And like some people are like, but no, like it's Marina. I'm like, yes, it's Marina. If you like, no. In AEW, it hasn't been good. But it's not, but I'm not sure where the disconnect is, because in Bloodsport, she's awesome. When she was in NXT with Shayna Baszler, she was awesome. And so hopefully even though we haven't seen her wrestle in a minute, I'm hoping that her being under Jon Moxley, she gets her mojo back of what she really does in the ring. And if she does, her versus Willow will be great. Any thoughts on that potential match?
I mean, we've talked a lot about Marina Shafir over the time, and Dolores was one of the big supporters of her, saying that, we're not getting the real Marina Shafir, the one that we get on the independents in AEW. And, the reality is that I agree to a certain extent. I mean, I've seen her in GCW, and she looks much better than she does when she's wrestling in AEW. That being said, I have no reason to think that AEW is going to book her like GCW. So if they're going to continue to book her the way they always booked her, which was, before she was Moxley's,
Muscle.
enforcer,
Yeah.
then I'm not necessarily interested in it. If they're going to actually let her be Marina Shafir and prove why Moxley has recruited her to be his enforcer, then that I'm here for. And we see a different Marina Shafir, then that I'm here for. And her and Willow could be a lot of fun. I was critical of her in the Death Riders to begin with because it's always interesting to me when someone like a John Moxley needs an enforcer. But okay, it is what it is.
She's
And when
the
it's
protector of the briefcase. She's not
and
a
when
enforcer. She's the protector of the briefcase.
Yeah, but but even before the briefcase, the briefcase hasn't even been there the whole time. So, um, I understand, that they wanted to push Marina and that this is a way to get her credibility, put her with someone like a John Moxley. At the same time, she's gotten the rub. People like her, and she's getting over in that regard. But she hasn't wrestled at all. Literally
Yeah.
hasn't wrestled at all. And so in that regard, she's not really getting over in any way. So it'll be interesting to see what this match that I'm assuming is coming with Willow looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Willow has already created a lane and a spot for herself that they can't just let Marina Shafir squash her. And
Yeah.
at this point in
Definitely.
time, at this point in time, if Marina Shafir gets beaten or taken to task out to the woodshed by Willow, like it takes a lot of the shine off the Marina that we've been watching that's been implying that she's the toughest woman in the world, right? That's why she's with John Moxley. So
Yes.
she can't come out and get dominated and beaten by Willow, but she can't come out and dominate and destroy Willow either. So for
No.
me, this is one of those situations where I don't know how you deal with this or why you do this match as her first match. Like, I'd rather see if you're going to start actually having Marina wrestle, then let her have some squash matches or some really one-sided matches where she can show why she's even in the Death Riders to begin with. Because she's never even really proven to AEW fans why she's worthy of being Moxley's enforcer, right?
Yeah.
So let's see that and then put her up against someone that's a little bit more competition that, because I don't know how this is going to play out, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. And understandable. So yeah, so we take out Willow, and here comes John Moxley in the frame. He tells Marina to get the cameraman, so Marina grabs the cameraman, and they're going towards the ring. And the Death Riders are doing a live in-ring promo, and John Moxley, he's in his crazy bag. And again, as a fan, I don't hate it. So basically he's really mad that Adam Copeland keeps challenging, like he's in his same facility. So Grissom, Australia, the Claudio and John Moxley defeat Adam Copeland and Jay White. So Moxley's like, I'm not even sure. I don't even understand while he's challenging me. He has had, what's the word? He's like, he has nothing on me. I am the AEW champion. This is, you know what that means? This is my ring. This is my show. These are my cameras. And it's like, we've heard this before, but I'm not mad at it. Y'all are boys, shield members for life. So I'm not mad at it that he was in a little bit of a tribal chief bag. Did he do it better? No, because no one can do it better. It's very hard to be the original, but I didn't hate it. But here comes Jay White, pissed off because they did get beat at Grand Slam Australia, but it did take darn near everybody in the Death Riders to beat them. So justifiably so, Jay White is pissed, but it's like, sir, it's 4 people in the ring. But we're not stupid here. So here comes Adam Copeland's song theme music. He jumps from behind. The fight ensues, and more so, I believe Jay White grabs the tape, got the chair. Yep, that sounds that Jay White grabs the chair. That's great. And then Adam Copeland grabs Janice, the spiky 2x4. They chase the Death Riders off into the crowd. And then Adam Copeland is chasing Jon Moxley in the crowd. Maybe it's just me, but I'm like, hold up, wait, homie, you got a 2x4 with spikes in your hands. I'm not sure how you're running, but I'm like, if someone gets shredded because you're running in the crowd with a 2x4 with spikes, what lawsuit is that? So I'm like, that was my friend. Like, hey, bro, either have a security person right next to you, or run it, or like with scissors, have it running in front of you. It's like, come on, it's like, sir, come on. And so, but the Death Riders escape. Adam Copeland gets the mic, and all in all, he says, "At Revolution, I'm going to kick yo," and that's the end of the segment. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I thought it was fine for what it was. I mean, Jay White got, I think it was Wheeler Yuta on the ramp with the, whatchamacallit, Blade Runner.
Yep.
So that was good to see.
Side note. I love when Yuta takes a Blade Runner. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it looks so effective. Okay.
So that was good to see. It's if you're your traditional wrestling fan that tends to root for the faces over the heels, this is a nice situation where Adam Copeland and Jay White kind of get the upper hand a little bit on Moxley and the Death Riders. So, I mean, they're doing everything they can to hype up this match between Moxley and Copeland at Revolution. And, I guess I'm excited. I mean, I don't, here's the thing, like, I don't want Adam Copeland to win by any stretch of the imagination, because I don't necessarily need to see him as AEW champion. Yeah. At the same time, if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it. And I don't necessarily, even though I'm not anti-Death Riders or anti-psychopath Jon Moxley, yeah, I also do think that is only sustainable for so long. And for me personally, it's starting to get to that almost too long point where I'm ready for something else from him, a little bit different kind of personality to a certain extent, and calm down a little bit, a little more stoic, a little more reserved, a little more calculating Moxley, as opposed to just the completely off the chain Moxley. But, I mean, it is what it is. And, it'll be a very interesting match at Revolution. I have no idea who's going to actually win at this point. I mean, there's still more time between now and then, and hopefully as things continue to play out, maybe it'll reveal itself to me a little bit more. But right now, I have no idea. It feels like a total toss-up. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I will say this. What's the word? I love this. They're hyping it up good. Where it's like it was a lull in the D Rider story where it's like, well, what is going on? But now it's like, yes, when in doubt, let's go with the on site approach, right? It's like, listen, we don't need to talk that much. So every time we meet each other on site, it's like, on site, a fight breaks out, and like, yes, it is actually working. It's actually hyping them up. So. All right. So, what is next? All right. Yeah. So now another backstage segment. We have Renee Paquette with Mercedes Moné. If you have not seen Grand Slam Australia, she did beat Harley Cameron in a great, awesome match. The end credits, though, a Japanese wrestler. Do you know her name? I don't want to mess it up. It's Momo.
Yeah. Watanabe.
Okay, you know the last name. Watanabe. She was in the crowd, and so after Mercedes Moné won, she smushed the title in her face. And so, unbeknownst to Mercedes Moné, they showed a clip of Grand Slam in the backstage, and Momo says, Renee asked Momo, "Who do you want to face?" And she's like, "I want to face Mercedes Moné." And I feel like they're setting that up. And Mercedes like, "What did I say about surprises?" And so evidently we're getting this matchup. I'm not mad at it because I do feel like during her title reign as TBS champion, besides Harley and Statlander, Mercedes' greatest matches is with, not sure if they're stardom per se, but Japanese female wrestlers. So in that aspect, I am hyped for this match. On the flip side of it, we do need to hype up. Not sure when they're going to do it. We need to hype up Momo. So the fans will be invested in the match, and it's just like, right? Like with any new person, I want y'all to hype them up so they don't get the, unfortunately, the treatment of we don't know you, we don't care. So any thoughts?
I mean, I'm here for this. And Mercedes has been decent with the title. I mean, she's fun, she's exciting. She talked shit about Harley and the puppet. No more puppet. I don't think it's the end of Harley Cameron and Mercedes
No.
Monet.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what ends up happening there. I've seen Momo wrestle a couple times. I'm not like a Momo specialist by any stretch of the imagination, but I've seen her wrestle a couple times. She's a very solid wrestler. The reality is that Mercedes is more of a mat-based technician type wrestler, as a lot of
Yeah.
the Japanese women are, and so I think that's why she tends to have really good chemistry with them over some of the American women. It just, they just have a style that gels better. And so I imagine her and Momo will be a lot of fun. I don't think Momo will get the win, but they definitely do need to do something to hype up Momo. She should come over, get a win or two before the match against
Yeah.
Mercedes. Minimum, they've got to do something with some video packages or something and show the world how good she is and why we even care that she's getting a shot, that she deserves a shot, any of that kind of thing. Or that she's even a viable, contender. I mean, those that have paid attention and know, but those that, but even then, to a certain extent, you still have to let everybody know. So, yeah, I mean, it should be fun. They just had to do enough to make Momo exciting or
Exactly.
accessible. Accessible. How's that?
Yeah. All right. So next up we have Statlander versus Megan Bain. Now listen, ever since the women's casino battle gauntlet battle royale, like when they what you call it, when they went toe to toe, it's like, oh, this could be a hot fight. We want to see it. Very surprised that we got it at Dynamite, but all in all, it was a great match, and they left a little bit to be like, hey, we want more of this. So yeah, like I said, so both of them are the same build. Where basically, they've been they weight train. So we start off with some chiller tackles, maybe like, hey, who's stronger? But then Megan Bain is a heel, so she kicks Statlander in the stomach. Still going for tat. When it looks like Statlander got the upper hand, uh, Miss Penelope Ford comes out from nowhere and tosses Statlander off the top ropes and gives Megan Bain a chance to do her very smooth F5. Like, I haven't seen a lot of people do that move, but Megan Bain does a very nice job at it. 1, 2, 3. Megan gets the win. I'm not mad at it. Like I said, it was only 9 minutes, but it was a nice 9 minutes for a women's match. We're going to talk about the match, and then we'll talk about what happened later. The match first, your thoughts.
I thought it was okay. I mean, I'm not as high on it as you were. I felt like, again, it felt a little kind of like Powerhouse and Big Bill. I felt like maybe they didn't have the greatest chemistry together, these two. But, again, Megan Bain is very new to AEW, and so she's just getting her feet really set. And so, we'll see. Statlander's been around for a while. Know what to expect from Statlander. I thought Statlander looked good. Not that Megan Bain didn't. It looked like you could tell the difference between someone in Statlander who was comfortable being there and had been there, and Megan Bain, who kind of, for me, felt a little kind of overwhelmed by maybe the scene and a little whatever. But I thought it worked out okay. I don't like Penelope Ford getting involved. I'm not a big fan of matches ending, with that, or having interference really affect the matches like that. So in that regard, I was disappointed, and I don't necessarily want Penelope Ford and Megan Bain together. So I'm not sure what that looks like. But it was okay. I mean, it was okay. I was expecting more. Let's put it that way. I was a little underwhelmed. Maybe I was in a bad mood when I watched this show. I'm not sure, but I was a little. I was a little underwhelmed by this match as well.
I did think they left more on the table because they're going to run the back. I will say that.
Yeah.
Now, so Megan Bain wins. Penelope Ford comes into the ring. They attack Statlander. Here comes Thunder Rosa with a chair to fight him off. I'm just gonna say what happened. We're gonna talk about it later. And so she has a chair. Penelope Ford goes behind Megan Bain. We go in front of Megan Bain. She's like, you know what? We don't want any trouble. It looks like they're about to leave the ring, but they don't. And Megan Bain is just standing there. So Thunder Rosa's like, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you. And then Penelope was like, no, you're not. Let me take the chair from you. Like, no, they offered to do. Get a chair back. And then they finally leave the ring.
Yeah, I don't think it came off the way they expected it to in the end there. It looked a little funny with Thunder in the chair at the end.
No. Someone did something wrong. You tell me who did something wrong. I feel Megan Bain was like, I'm gonna stand here and not be scared. No, you have to look scared. Either you leave the ring or you hit me. And like, no, okay, no offense. If I'm Thunder Rosa, I'm not gonna look stupid. Either you leave the ring or I'm hitting you. Either I'm hitting her back. I don't care about safety chair shots. I'm gonna hit you in your arm. Okay, I'm not gonna hit you. I want you to be safe, but you get hit with this chair. So either I hit you in your shoulder or I hit you in your leg. But you get hit with this chair. It ain't gonna be me try to psych you out and you still standing there. You gonna get hit with the chair some way somehow. So it was so doggone awkward. And I'm like, who it can't be that awkward. What was it? But that wasn't the plan. If the plan was not this, the plan did not, it can't be this and it looks this bad. That's just my 2 cents. Any thoughts?
No, I mean I agree perfectly. Unfortunately, Thunder Rosa looked really bad in that situation. And then there was the one time where she looked like she was gonna try to really hit her in the stomach, but then didn't. Like she went like that, but then didn't actually hit her. And the whole thing was really weird. I don't know if Megan Bain was supposed to like stand down and like go out of the ring, look all scared. I think Thunder Rosa probably missed the. My guess is that Thunder Rosa is the veteran, and if one of them is going to miss the boat, it's probably Megan Bain that didn't do the right thing. That being said, Thunder Rosa, being the veteran, should have audibled and hit her with the chair and just called it good. If you're not going to back away or do what you're supposed to do, I'm just going to hit you with the chair and let's move on. Because it ended up looking really bad, and it didn't make Thunder Rosa look very good at all. So, no, it definitely didn't work out the way they wanted it to. So, forget that one and move on. The next situation needs to be planned better.
Like, bro, I say, Collision, run this back. I'm hitting you with a chair. Don't even tell them. I'm hitting you with a chair. Just tell her to turn her to face to the screen. Turn her to face to the screen. I'm going to come behind her. I'm hitting her in the back with a chair. Let's go. Okay. Next up, we have Matt Caster in backstage segment. He's going to do one more open challenge on Collision. And he's like, I'm going to prove that I'm the best wrestler alive. Listen, this is like the 3rd or 4th time he's done these challenges. The first couple of times have not gone his way. I feel like this one will be someone he can beat. I feel like it's going to, right? Because if not, what are we doing? What are we really doing? So I feel like it's going to be someone he sets up. But your thoughts?
I mean, can't imagine that. Okay, if you're back and you're running the creative department or you're writing creative for a wrestling show, I can't imagine you look at somebody and think, I'm going to write creative to bury that person. The only reason I think that you write creative, unless of course you have some sort of personal grudge with somebody, and then who knows, maybe you had a fight or whatever. But during that, I think if you're taking the time to write creative and try to give somebody a storyline, the idea is that it's going to work and they're going to get over. So if that's the idea, then at some point Max Caster has to win a match. I mean, you can't get over by just taking loss after loss after loss, even if it is to the best of the best. Like, at some point, it's not going to be realistic that the best of the best are going to continue to want to wrestle Max Caster because he's already getting beat all the time anyhow. So you're not even giving me any reason to want to come wrestle you as one of the better guys in the company anymore. So why would I want to answer your open challenge? And two, it does nothing for Max Caster. And why would you do this unless you want him to get over and you're trying to push him, in which case he's got to get some wins. So the next one will be a win, whether it's a handpicked situation or whether it's somebody that's, on a tier below him. It's got to be a win. It's absolutely has to be a win. Otherwise, yeah, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Agreed. All right. And then we have an in-ring promo with Ricochet. Now listen, I don't know what switch Ricochet flipped, but it's on and we can't go the freak back. Ricochet was in his heel pocket. I'm just going to hit some base notes. Basically, they announced that AEW Double or Nothing is moving from Las Vegas to Arizona. Any thoughts on that?
I don't care one way or the other. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's not in my neck of the woods, so I don't care. Neither of them is in my neck of the woods. I mean, I always find it interesting when you have things that you can bet on. Betting. Let's talk about how weird betting is on something that's already scripted and planned behind stage. That's one thing. So betting on wrestling is bizarre anyhow. But anytime you have anything that you can bet on in a place like Vegas, it seems weird to me. So the fact that even that the Raiders are in Vegas permanently, it just seems like it's a conflict of interest. I understand it's not. You still got to whatever, but it feels weird. So, the idea of them being somewhere besides Vegas is fine. Although this is Double or Nothing, and it is a casino theme, and it's been centered around that for a long time. So Vegas has made sense. Arizona doesn't quite hit that casino theme, but it is what it is, I guess. What are you going to do?
Yeah, and it feels like when we were talking about, hey, Las Vegas, the crowd is a little bit spent on the show. We want me to move it. We were talking about, okay, maybe New Jersey because they have casino, or maybe New Orleans they have a casino. For you to say for Arizona, it's like Arizona.
Like, yeah, I mean there are other places you could have gone to that have casinos, but Arizona just definitely doesn't ring true as far as matching the theme of Double or Nothing.
Yeah. So Ricochet takes this motion. He's like, listen, since Arizona is it's not Las Vegas, I'm not even going to talk to the fans. I'm going to talk to the crowd. And it talks about his conquest of beating Swerve. And he's wearing this robe that was not his. And he is all in all, the greatest wrestler alive. And now it's time to focus on gold. He's like, I came here for a purpose, and I'm now getting titles. And here comes Prince Nana by himself. And this was a great part of the promo as well, where he was like, sir, don't worry about it. I told Swerve to stay in the back because this is just between me and you. You are wearing something that does not belong to you. That robe has 3 years of history. 3 years of basically that is my legacy of having the best deals in wrestling, of doing the best matches in wrestling, inside the ring, outside the ring. That robe is bestowed upon you, means that you are great. It was not bestowed upon you. You took it from us. Now, if you're the man of honor that you say you are, you give it back now. And Ricochet, I'm not sure. Hey, I get you want your roll back, but Ricochet ain't happy. Ricochet was being attentive. He was listening to you, but after you was done, this creepy, scary behind crackhead emotionally gonna get close to Nana's ear and say, "If you want it, take it, take it." And so Nana gets scared, and you should be scared because, sir, this is the same emotional crackhead who beat up Swerve with some scissors, and then he just ends him with a and he leaves the ring. Listen, this was a great segment. When it was first addressed that the possibility, because that hadn't happened yet, the possibility of Nana choosing Ricochet over Swerve, we're like, no, they're a group. This is great. They should stay together. Thinking more about it, we're not opposed to it on two different levels. Number one, Ricochet, as of right now, Ricochet, even though he's in his bag, he still needs one more element to this persona, to this character. Nana could be that persona, right? Because it's crazy enough to say that Ricochet was focused on gold, and last week he was asking Swerve, "Why do you make everything so personal, boss? We're supposed to be working on championships." And he was like, "You know why? Because last time I let up, Swerve, Hangman burned my house down. That's why I can't let it go." So just a little nugget of, hey, here's this dude who wants championships. He wants the same things I want. That could be a thing. And like I said, as of right now, Ricochet would need the rub of Nana more than Swerve does. So it would break my heart. Probably would break my heart just the same as when Dom left Rhea at SummerSlam. It would break my heart, and I would be pissed the freak off. If y'all wanted to do that, I would not oppose it. Any thoughts on any of this?
Yeah, I mean, this was the best Ricochet promo that I can remember ever. Honestly, I mean, I don't, even WWE included. Like, the difference for me, you say he flipped a switch, and what felt different to me was that it felt like the previous Ricochet was kind of the psycho off the chain Ricochet. This is the cocky, egotistical, arrogant Ricochet, and this feels much more. He felt comfortable to me. Like, this felt like okay for him to do. The other stuff he felt kind of, he never felt comfortable to me doing. So I feel like maybe the switching of heel styles is what made that change here, because this is perfect Ricochet. I mean, the arrogance is just oozing off of him. The sliminess is just oozing off of him, and he was brilliant here. I mean, for anybody that thinks that Ricochet can't talk or needs someone to talk for him, watch this, because this is a perfect example of the fact that he doesn't. Now, why he hasn't been doing this forever remains to be seen. Whether that's because it's been scripted for him and it's bad scripting, whether it's, I don't know what it is, whether this is sun shines on a dog's ass sometimes, I don't know. Whatever the case may be, this moment in time, this episode of Dynamite, this promo, he hit it out of the park. This was perfect for Ricochet. And the stuff with Nana was great. I don't need to see him with Ricochet. I need to see Swerve versus Ricochet again, with Swerve getting the jack into the rope back for Nana. I don't need to see Nana with Ricochet. So that's and then be done with it. But yeah, this is the Ricochet that I think everybody was hoping for when he first showed up.
Yeah.
Now maybe, and as long as he continues to do this, then I'm all for it. This was perfect. This was perfect.
Okay. Yeah, this definitely hyped us up for Ricochet versus Swerve too. All right, and then next time, now it's time for the main event. This series starts. We're not gonna name names. We're not gonna call it names. Not screw it. This Double High series for the international championship starts with OC coming back from a long break and Roddy Strong. And this is the OC of old. Listen, I do love that it feels like they kind of reset OC. It was a product of storylines that didn't kick off and storylines that should have been better. More so when I say kick off, him versus Trent, that could have been a good storyline when Trent turned heel on him and Trent joined the Don Cox family. And that's when OC went black, but unfortunately Trent got hurt. And then we go with him versus the John Moxley, and it was all right, but they had that very no offense, dumb segment of him getting beat up at the end and him standing tall made a difference, but it didn't. And it's like, oh, why y'all just do that? Like, they just let him go against John Moxley because he was the last person to beat him for case in point international championship. But like I said, let's reset. Let's forget all that happened. No offense, but yeah, let's reset and let's just let OC be OC. And I love that in this match. Case in point, Roddy Strong versus OC. If nothing, these two are great in the ring, and this was a great match. We get some OC mannerisms back. We start off with some nice little we call it reversals, covers. Roddy tries to get him, but OC slides underneath the ring ropes. He hugs Kyle O'Reilly because hey, let's not forget. Wait, okay. I have thoughts. I'm going to say what I say, and then we're going to go to the next thoughts. Let's not forget the conglomeration because early 2025, late 2024, that was the best part of AEW. That was those multi-man matches were the best parts. Were one of the best matches on the show, right? So like, let's not forget, right? Good times, good stuff. Yes, Riley is with his boys, but it didn't. Like, unlike Yuta, it didn't end badly. They just disintegrated. Side note, where the freak is Mark them boys? Where is Mark Briscoe?
I don't know.
He better be hurt because what a freak is on my TV screen. That is ooh. Okay, that made me mad. How I literally like collaboration. Mark Briscoe, what? Are they not? Oh, okay, all right. I see y'all. Y'all rude, but I see y'all. And so yeah, we had those moments, and then we get back to wrestling. Great, Roddy's strong. Like he's like that. It was the reason why we were all hyped for him to be the international championship when he had it because in the ring he's just great. Like these backbreakers, you have to really perfect your craft because it really is like, he all right? He okay when you do that? When you just put your knees in his back, right? Evidently, we're gonna say yes, but like great back breakers, like just great reversals. But all in all, thankfully, no interference because there are good guys. Undisputed Kingdom not interfere, but OC got the 1, 2, 3. OC advances in this tournament. I know you're an OC hater, but you have to admit that this was a good match. This was a good match. So before we get to the aftermath, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I've been critical of Orange Cassidy, but not in the ring. I think he's very solid in the ring. Roderick Strong is brilliant in the ring. Roderick Strong is another one of those guys that I don't totally understand the whole disconnect and why some people get over and some don't. For all intents and purposes, Roderick Strong should be, a mega superstar. I mean, he does nothing wrong. I mean, he has personality. He can talk. He can wrestle. He can do everything. I mean, maybe the size is the issue. I'm not totally sure, but he's one of those guys where I don't know why doesn't get more out of his career, or he hasn't gotten more out of his career than he has. These two main eventing a Dynamite, this feels more like a middle of the card match. But that being said, it is what it is. And, ultimately it is part of this stupid international championship series. And, Tony's made it clear he wants all the titles to feel equal. So right now you're focusing on the international championship because of the series. And so the qualifiers in those matches are going to be your main event matches for a minute, probably. So, which is fine to a certain extent. It just, I don't know that OC versus Roger Strong it shouldn't feel underwhelming for a main event. These should be the guys, as a wrestling fan, as good wrestlers, they should be the guys that are in the main event picture. But because they're not booked that way on a regular basis, it feels like they shouldn't be in that main event spot either. So even though they both deserve it and they're good enough to be there, just because of the way they get treated and booked, it feels like they shouldn't. So in that regard, it's another reason why this episode of Dynamite felt really down to me. But again, it is what it is. The match itself was really good. The in-ring work is great. Roderick Strong is great. Orange Cassidy is a very solid wrestler. So in that regard, the work itself was phenomenal. And as a wrestling fan, I mean, there's not much more you could ask for from a match as far as in-ring work. It just, I don't think anybody really cares. I mean, they do, but they don't. Like, people like Orange Cassidy, but it is what it is. And people like Roderick Strong, but he's not anybody's favorite. No one's looking at Roderick Strong or even Orange Cassidy like they do MJF or Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega. They're just not. And so it is what it is, right? I mean, you get what you get. And very solid match. I just, okay.
Yeah.
An underwhelming main event for an underwhelming episode of Dynamite. That's how I would sum it up.
All right. Like, even though you didn't like the opening segment, I would have flipped it. I would have ended it with Hangman and MJF and let this be the first match. But the ending of this might have been the reason why it was the main event. So LC wins, and here comes Don Callis on the mic. It was Takeshita and Mark Davis, the new member of the Don Callis family, and he's like, "You see this guy? This is Takeshita. He is the greatest international champion of all time." He's not. He's let's stop saying dumb behind. He's not. But hey, again, no fault of his own. And so he's like, "But who are you? You're just a punk kid." And of course, they attack OC and they beat him up. And I hear the battle cry comes in to help OC and fighting them off. He gets the upper hand. It goes bout for bout, and then yeah, I'm sorry, I'm watching it right now. Yeah, they go bout for bout, and they run off the Don Callis family. Omega holds up the international championship to taunt Takeshita, but he turns around and he's like, "Yeah, let's not forget OC just won this, so you have to go through OC before you get to Takeshita. All in all, you have to have this match, even though, again, unless you hit Omega with a lead pipe, he's beating OC. So why are we having this freaking tournament?" But it's great to see Omega, even if it's the end of the show. What did you what your thoughts about this last segment?
Again, I mean, I understand that this is an important situation because you've got Takeshita and Omega, who are two mega superstars for your company, orbiting this title. So that makes sense. I get that. And Orange Cassidy's a solid wrestler, but unfortunately, Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong don't really belong in the same conversation at this point in time with the Kenny Omegas and the Takeshas. They should, but that's not how they've been presented. So in that regard, it feels off, and it feels like Omega turning to Cassidy saying, "Oh yeah, let's do." Okay, great. Yeah, you're beating him. That's 100% victory for Kenny Omega to a certain extent. So, I mean, the match itself will be good. OC's a very good wrestler. Omega's an amazing wrestler. They're not going to have a bad match, but who cares? The point is Omega's going to get the win and face Takeshita for the title. So, I mean, in that regard, it's disappointing, but it is what it is. You can only do, I guess, what you can do, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it feels like they should be able to produce something better, but I'm often underwhelmed by wrestling stories in general. And it's not AEW. It's not exclusive to AEW. Whatever wrestling I'm watching, when it's GCW, when it's MLW, when it's TNA, when it's WWE, when it's AEW, even when it's New Japan, I'm often underwhelmed by what we ultimately get out of storylines and the way that these creative plans ultimately pan out. Very rarely do I think they play out where it's like, "Oh my God, that was amazing and incredible from beginning to end," and all that stuff. So, I mean, again, I say it all the time, and it's probably, people are probably tired of hearing it, but it is what it is to a certain extent. I mean, you're going to get to Takeshita and Omega, and that's fine. And Omega is probably going to win that title, as he probably should. And, you'll have Omega with the belt again, which will raise the profile of that belt in a way that nobody that's had it will be able to raise it. So even, even with Takeshita having it, I mean, Omega is a once in a lifetime superstar. He simply is. And putting the belt on Omega is different than putting it on everybody else. It just is. So, yeah. I mean, I imagine he's going to beat Takeshita, and this is just a long way to get there. Him and OC will be fine. It's predictable. We already know who's going to win.
It's predictable. It is, yeah. All right, but that was the end of AEW Dynamite from last Wednesday. It wasn't for me. This is going to be very much so. This is going to be interesting as hell. For me, I enjoyed it. That thing egregiously. Well, okay. There was one egregiously bad scenario, and we don't know who to blame. But I'm blaming Megan Bain. I'm sorry. I'm blaming the rookie. But besides that, I had a good time with it. I would give it a B. I would give it a B. But let's hear what AEW gives it.
Man, this is tough for me this week. There were so many things I thought were really bad. I really didn't like the Hangman MJF stuff to begin. I didn't like Hobbs and Big Bill. I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't really. I thought it was underwhelming. Megan Bain and Statlander, I thought was a little bit better, but then the stuff with Thunder Rosa at the very end was so bad. It almost overshadows kind of the match between Bain and Statlander that wasn't terrible, but nothing to write home about. And then having Cassidy and Strong in the main event. Not that again, not that they don't deserve it, but just the way that they function in the company doesn't seem to breed that kind of spot. So in that regard, man, it's like a C or a C minus for me this week. I mean, it's low. Like for me, Raw,
Oh,
Monday Night Raw won this week, no doubt. I thought NXT was very down, and I thought AEW was very down this week. I think that for me, I'm going to give it a C. I think NXT and Dynamite were the same this week, and I think Raw was the best of the shows this week. That's my personal opinion.
I'm trying. I'm trying to be biased. So I'm trying to rethink in my brain before I say yay or nay to this decision you've made. For me, was Raw better than AEW? That I can't say that, sir. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. They weren't like, but they both weren't bad though.
So we got AJ back, which was fun. AJ versus Dom was solid, and then we got the AJ versus Braun, which we're getting, which was a very solid segment.
Yes,
Sammy had several good segments throughout the show. The main
yes.
event between Finn and Seth was extremely good. I would say, for me personally, I think Seth and Finn was the best match of those three shows for the week. That's a personal
Mhm.
opinion. And so that's why I'm giving Raw a little bit of a nod this week.
I do agree with you. I do agree with you. That probably was for between the three shows. That probably was the best match. So, and then I did actually like Roxanne versus Raquel. So, okay, Raw wins. That's insane. Raw. Dang.
Monday
All right.
Night Raw gets is this his first win since going to Netflix? I think it might be. I
Yes.
know it's.
Right.
It's. I mean, Raw's only had 3 or 4 wins to begin with. I mean, we're in
Right.
episode 22. It's only won 3 or 4 times. NXT's won a couple times. Dynamite seems to be the one that wins more often than not. So this is definitely an anomaly. And I think it might be the first one since they've gone to NXT. So
Yeah.
Netflix. Sorry, since they've gone to Netflix. So
We'll have to redo
all
tape,
right.
but yeah.
All right.
Right.
So that brings us to the end of another episode, another long episode of Winter Circle. Thank you for being here with us. We know it has been a long show, but we appreciate it. There is a lot to always go over. So, and hopefully, you guys appreciate the in-depth review that we do. So, we'll do a little bit of house cleaning and then we'll get out of here. So, make sure and join us every Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, for the cookout where we all come together and talk about what's cooking up in the world of professional wrestling. On Friday nights, it's usually Anika and Sammy Joe watching SmackDown starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, giving you their real time opinions and reactions to the show as they watch it. Saturday mornings, which you're here with us now, is usually myself, Anika, and Sammy Joe reviewing Raw, NXT, and Dynamite, grading each show. And the show with the best grade is declared that week's winner. And this week it was Monday Night Raw got the win this week. So, and then on Saturday nights, we have Saturday Night is All Right, our AEW Collision watch long. I don't know if there'll be one tonight. Unfortunately, Saturday nights are always hit or miss because it's a Saturday night and life be life. And so if we don't have an AEW Collision watch long, there should be a rundown afterwards within the next day or two with CM giving you a review of the Collision and Asahi Wrestling also. So make sure and check that out if there isn't a watch along tonight for Collision. Sundays, hopefully coming back March 1st, will be under the Square Circle, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Myself and Sammy Joe playing some sort of video game, battling it out. Then you can, if you scan this QR code, it will take you to all of our social media, or it'll take you to Linktree, where you can get to all of our social media from one place. You can interact with us at all of these different social media places. So we'd love to hear from you, love to interact with you. The best part of us is you guys. So the more we hear from you, the better. Yeah, so check in with us on all those social media places. If you want to listen to the audio version of the cookout, you can catch the audio version on your regular podcast location, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, as you can see on the screen. So the audio version of the cookout is there, so make sure and check that out. Look out until I think that's basically it. You got anything else you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
No, we're good.
All right. Well, we'll cut the lights as always, as Laura says. And until next time, peace.
Bye.